really waiting a long time, not saying
Okay,
it
we're about to start.
in five, four.
Okay, all right, we are live now. So, welcome everybody to Coffee with the Crows. I'm your host, Frank, and with me is.
Brad, and we're doing a kind of common type podcast theme, but we want to keep it very opinionated type topics and nothing that really requires too much intelligence for the most part.
No, just very simple stuff. Well, maybe some things are a little more complex, but we wanted to talk today about, well, basically, what was the thing we were going to talk about today? Speaking your
Or
mind? Is
we
that it?
label it in your mind. I mean, the most common place I see this kind of stuff is like on the internet, obviously, which is where everybody's at. So, but I mean, you get this in public too. People are they just say things that are inappropriate. I mean, I agree with the freedom of speech, which, pretty much means you're not going to get arrested for saying something inappropriate. But just because you get upset when somebody says something that's, not nice doesn't make you a snowflake, which is just another term that people are using. That's just not a nice term. So and I think it's getting better in some
Yeah, I've had
areas.
I've had some people say that to me a couple times. Use the word snowflake for something. I'm like, it's just that I don't care. Why are you trying to, say I'm weak on this topic or whatever? Just sometimes I just don't care. There's anyway. Go ahead with what you're going on about.
No, I mean, I think, like I told you earlier, I think a lot of it's related with politics,
Mm-hmm.
and I really do think in this category, both sides are guilty. I think that people just are saying really harsh terms about other people, and that's not really getting a real point across.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really good for, you know, eh, the youth, which is the main people that use the internet. This is how they see adults portraying how to handle situations. And you know how the youth is, they always want to take the bar to the next level. So where are we headed, basically? We need to think mindfully about how we act and how our future is going to act based on how we're acting now. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. I mean I think it gets a little carried away with a lot of the politics, and the problem is politics has sort of turned into a religion for a lot of people. And it used to just be, people would think and choose one way or another, but now everybody's so hardcore, grasping onto one side or another, they think they're actually going to get something out of it. I don't think you really get popularity more than you get anger from a lot of it.
well, I mean, obviously, we agree that the First Amendment's supposed to try to protect you from being able to have freedom of speech. You're obviously not allowed to make threats or, uh, have somebody else make do something. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't say, I'll pay you $500 to go and kill this person or something like that. But
Yeah, that'd be pretty terrible to go
well,
into.
I just see a lot of debates that aren't really debates. They're just name callings. Even Trump's guilty of this. Trump and I'm not disputing that a lot of things that people say can be funny at times, but when there's a thin line between a time to be funny and a time to be professional. And less and less I'm seeing professionalism, and I'm seeing less and less people getting their points across, and more people just saying you're wrong and you're a fucking idiot. And it's really a concern of mine, and I like to just bring that to everybody's attention that this is not going to end well for anybody by acting like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not something that you can really. But the thing is, usually with debates, usually debates are kind of putting somebody down for the most part. I mean, it's trying to prove your point, but it's also to make the other person look ridiculous, and like you know, they don't have a solid ground of what they're trying to talk about. And
Well,
we've seen, like, I've noticed, like, a lot of people get on Trump for this, but the fact is, Obama did this in each of his debates against Romney and McCain. He did it a lot. He put them down, made them look really dumb, and then Trump does the same thing too. It's almost like we'd rather have a popularity scale than a person that's, it's like we look at the that type of tension and we're a little more interested and invested into it than something serious. And I mean, you've seen Trump and Obama, push this rhetoric where they're just sort of bashing them. And I think it just comes down to it. It just looks
well,
like
and Hillary
like a
too.
playground with kids insulting each other, and the cool kids are the ones that are the best ones at insulting. They're kind of looked up to. It just looks like that's what we have in our politics now, and that's what most people want to go for. Because I mean, yeah, Trump's tweets, like, he'll say some really stupid shit. People get on him for that.
Well, for instance, with like the LGBT, what is it, QAI as of right now, silent Q. You know, I mean, a lot of these people do have serious problems where they, possibly want to kill themselves, or they have suicidal thoughts, and it just sickens me. I'm not for, condoning this. I think that there's a lot of, but I'm certainly not for just dismissing it and throwing it out and saying, their ideas are stupid, and it's just really, really rude. They have a legitimate concern because this is how they feel, and we need to address that. I certainly don't think that the way of going about it is allowing, men who decide that they're a woman to go into a woman's bathroom where there could potentially be little children. I don't think that's right, because you're going to obviously get, maybe they're of good heart, but I guarantee there will
Yeah,
be
but
people who will abuse this idea.
what if the guy is just putting up a front and he's a rapist? He just
Well,
makes
and
an
and and,
excuse,
and
and people could just say, I mean, how is anybody going to really know? Everybody's going to try to be on his side initially because he's, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he's like crying wolf, when the fact is he's the wolf.
right,
It's like,
and we need to make that, distinction that, when Crowder did that video where he called Target and was pretending to be a guy who was upset about his daughter, it's very, very, I'm not worried so much about people who genuinely want to change their sex and they feel like they belong in that other bathroom. I don't quite understand, if you feel like you're a woman, why do you want to still stand up when you pee? But at the same time, like I said, people are going to abuse this. We have to be aware that people are going to abuse any kind of idea that we make. I was actually making that, I referenced to my wife that it's like, socialism versus democracy. Socialism is where the leader takes advantage, and democracy is where the people take advantage. So both have their flaws, and that's what we're discovering. As more and more democracy, democratic we get, more and more we just find that people are mooching off the system, and they're playing the system out to make themselves do the best they can do, and that's neither. That's a little off topic, but neither of them are really good in that sense.
yeah, I think with that though, you're always going to have those, like we were just talking about. You're always going to have those wolves, that are trying to disguise themselves and just be in the system to try to get to the top so they can leech off of everything else. That's what they want to do. And there's not a lot of people that try to sniff them out and get them out of that, which is why we always have as much corruption as we do, because there's always those people that slip through the cracks, and there's not enough, there's not enough of a community in either situation to really enforce that or to really look for that, and sometimes it just happens. How do you prevent that?
Well,
I mean, you look at some extremes like if you're looking at communism extreme, you're looking at Stalin. You know, you're looking at things like that. Um, you know, just to kind of jump there. But
I mean, you prevent it by deciding what you're going to argue with. You know, I mean, I don't know if it's just because it's on my YouTube feed, but it just seems like constantly I'm berated with, feminist and racism, and it just seems like people are not tolerable to if a black person feels like there's racism in the world, there probably is racism in his world. I mean, he's probably experienced it, and that's genuinely what. Because you think if somebody, if I were to tell everybody, oh, constantly people are just being racist towards me, am I supposed to just accept that everybody's like, no, that's not true? I
mm-hmm.
mean, why? People are being racist towards that person, probably. I mean, we see this all the time. But part of it's not just racism. Part of it's just jokes. People are saying jokes that are borderline inappropriate. Comedians have to keep pushing the bar further and further on what is funny, and you do what sells. Everybody's trying to do what sells. I mean, nobody's making old-fashioned slapstick jokes anymore because nobody just wants 1,000 viewers. They want 100 million viewers. And what do you have to do to get 100 million viewers? But say stuff that's gonna be a little racy and be a little off color half the time.
Yeah, and
So
a lot of the time, some of those jokes aren't something that a person would consider. You know, some people wouldn't consider it racism, but some people try to be an activist towards helping somebody out of which they are not even. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're not totally involved with it, but they want to jump in there and say, "Hey, this is wrong. This was bad," and this and the other thing, and it could be, but there's times where it's not, and they try to get too. They try to. They try to involve themselves, create something, stir some shit up that isn't really stirred up at all. They're just trying to find a reason to stop something. The policing. It's like verbal policing.
yeah, verbal policing is a great term, I think. And we need that a little bit, but at the same time, you can't go about it by just saying something equally insulting back. I think that's the problem. Is
I mean,
being
cause look at I think Chris Rock. He said a joke like something towards the fact that something happened to black children. He's like, wouldn't it be good if it happened to white children? As far as like, I don't know if it was like murder or being hurt or something like that. I can't remember the whole thing that he said, but it was a few years ago, or maybe a year ago. I made a comment about it. I'm like, is this really, a good thing for him to say? This sounds really terrible, but
did you get any comments back on that?
no, nothing.
Yeah.
But it was like a really
Yeah,
bad thing he said. Like it
I've
was a really terrible thing, and I got no comments back on it. It's like, well,
I've noticed this,
nobody
that
cares. It
if
only
I say
matters for
something
certain
that
things.
tries to solve the problem in a comment, I get like 0 likes, I get like 0 feedback. But if I, you know, add on to the blasphemy and all this, it seems like you get more likes, you get more people. You know, being an instigator, it seems to be the popular thing.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
And
saying. There's so many times that I'll make a comment to something, unless it's a music video, because music videos I'm gonna make like a positive comment. People have some positive feedback for that. But if it's some other comment somewhere else, I'll leave like a positive message or a positive note, and barely ever will somebody respond. But if I say something that I don't like, oh boy, you light the fire, it's gonna burn. People are gonna
yeah,
notice. People are
yeah.
gonna be all on top of you, and they're gonna want to argue you back and forth, no matter what. To the ends of the freaking earth. It's just gonna go on and on. You know,
I guess
it's like conflict is almost desired. half the time when you go online. Everybody wants that type of conflict. They want to find something to fight. It's like you want to, like a virtual punching bag at your disposal almost any time you go
Well,
online.
people love to argue, you know. I mean, it's when you're bored, you love to argue. I mean, it's a fun thing to do. Um,
I
and
guess.
it's
I just like to work on fixing things, making sure that,
and
what I
I
see
do
is
too,
like,
and that's why I chose this as the first topic because I see that this is probably one of the biggest things that really needs fixing. So, when you initially said, well, how do you solve that? I think the first thing is, weigh in 1 to 10. Is what this person said genuinely something that I really want to bother? Do I really want to advocate by answering it? Because people are just waiting on their phones to get that reply so they can say something back. And I mean, is that
dude,
necessarily
dude, I had a comment on this one guy's video that he tried to debunk, the Bible and everything. Like the angels that came down from heaven to get Jesus out of the tomb, they were monsters. And like he said this in his video, and he's a pretty popular dude. Um, and he sold books and everything like that too. And I left a comment like this guy hasn't read anything. Like he hasn't actually read through to understand what Christ's message was. Now I know there's a lot of people that probably watch this and they're probably not Christian or not anything like that, but the basic message was peace, love, kindness, forgiveness, and that sort of stuff. That was essentially what it's all about. You can go deeper into it, but the way that I described it, I was trying to say this guy doesn't understand the message. He didn't understand what the point of Christ was because of the message. And so he interpreted everything like extremely wrong, or he just discarded the whole thing altogether. I had people arguing me back and forth, like, the hardcore atheist. It went on for like, I don't know how many, I can't even count anymore, but it went on for like 3 months. People constantly kept messaging me back and forth, like trying to attack me here and there, and they couldn't pin me down, but other people would come on and try to defend me, but they would go off on their own tangent.
well,
And it just went
religion
on for
is
so
is
long.
definitely another one of those categories where it's absolutely unbelievable the way people treat each other. I mean,
I mean, we're talking about the same stuff in a small kind of way, like a basic core essence. Like we're talking about how to attain a heavenly presence, here or afterwards. But then some people that get so argumentative about it, it's like, why is it such a bad thing to think about? Why is it such a bad thing to consider? Do you want to literally think that you're just going to go in the ground, be eaten by worms in your dirt, and there's no value to your life? Is that what people really want to think? I mean, I
well,
guess they can.
well,
That's
why
definitely not.
why is it why do you atheism is basically not believing in anything, as I understand.
But then why do
And
they argue it?
why do you want to spread that? I don't quite understand. And feel free, again, I'm not trying to talk bad about atheists. It's your choice if you don't choose to believe in that. But over and over again, when I see comments about, oh, I'm a Christian, I see the next comment is God doesn't exist. And it's just like, is there a purpose that you had to say that other than hoping to start something because you want to get a like? And honestly, I mean, there is how many billion people in this planet, and even if you get 300 likes on a comment, it is so unnecessary. I mean, you're not doing any service to anybody, really. I mean, none of us are. None of us are doing any service saying any of this stuff, really, that's going to cause arguments. I mean, really, the best thing to do is go out there and do something. Go out there and figure out, you know, does God exist or does God not exist? But just making your comment online is, again, it's really just seeing the next generation is going to see it. I mean, I hear all the time how they say that Christians are doing this and that, and they're, shooting up schools, and I don't. It's true. Some Christians have done some horrible stuff. Throughout history, we've known this. Some Christians have done some good stuff too. Some Muslims have done some horrible stuff. Some Muslims have done some good stuff. Some atheists, some Jews, you name it. Any religion, you have your good and your bad. Any race, you have your good and your bad. Any culture, any, you know, preference, anything, you have your good and your bad. And I don't seem to understand why people are categorizing your belief to be so what everybody else believes. If you choose just the terms, the right and the left, it's a negative aspect on how people are. You're categorizing people into this group that's just it's just not the right way to go about things. And we need to respect that each other as an individual. We need to
Yeah,
hear what an
yeah.
individual has to say. And truthfully, if they're not saying anything that's of any intellectual, conversation to what you're talking about, and they're just speaking hate, just click the X in the corner and don't bother talking to them. Don't parade them. Go on to another video or another comment and look for the people who are actually doing something productive in what you're talking about.
Hmm.
It's really got to change. And main reason I say that is for our youth, because these will not disappear. You can get comments that are 6 years old, and a 12-year-old is now 18, and they see these comments, and I mean, it's just not a good look for anybody that a 6-year-old who's now 12, and they're seeing now that they're old enough to really understand these comments and read them. Oh, I guess Obama wasn't a good president. I guess Trump wasn't a good president. I guess Clinton and Bush were all bad presidents. I guess the government's lying to us. I guess all religions are just evil. I guess racism is everywhere. I guess females don't have rights. We need to understand too that it's such a small group of a lot of these people. The females that are complaining about not having rights, that is not every female. And we need to. I just read today on one comment, somebody said typical female. What does that really even mean? Typical female? Because that just sounds like a negative term to females in general.
Well,
Now you're
that supports the whole patriarchy thing that I've heard before. Which sometimes I wonder, like, how much of patriarchy is actually real? How much of it is just um, basically it's a lifted argument that is somewhat true to some people, but not true to everybody. I think, like, if you look at, like, you could look at the two different groups that are out there, the MGTOW and the feminists. You can see how feminists just want to have everything just for the females and not care about men. And the MGTOW is basically just like, I'm going my own way. I'm not going to, deal with women anymore. I'm not going to have that. It's sort of like the feminists have turned into nuns and the MGTOW have turned into monks in like a very physical way, but without any religious acts to it. It's like it's an extreme faction, and I think that some of those groups they try to encourage other people to join their group because they don't want to feel alone. They want to feel like they have companionship of some kind,
well, and they're
but
also
they're not
combining
pushing
groups.
out ideals that are normal for most people. And I think some people, they want to feel like they're connected to, and they'll join some of these groups, and they don't. These extreme groups don't have anything very good to offer a normal person that wants to have a normal life. And I think that's how I feel about that. I don't think I'm wrong by saying that, but
Well, and it also seems like if you just want to have this, and you use the term normal, I just think if you have this, traditional life, that you're not being yourself, and you're just wrong in how you're
well,
behaving.
if you want to look at like men, if or the patriarchy or the matriarchy, however you want to say it, if you're a female and you want to look at all men like this, they all do this, they always do this, they always do that. As soon as you want to get into a relationship with them of some kind, you're going to be looking at them in a negative light to start, and you're already not even giving them a chance. You're not giving them a chance to prove one thing or another. You could literally start up by saying, "Hey, I think this and this. Prove me wrong." No, you go into it by already having a stamped uh, expression of an ideal on that person. They can't change no matter what, because it
Right.
doesn't matter. You already have it in your
Exactly.
mind. You
If
have it
you
in your
are
mind that
a
this is the way this
Asian,
is,
if
and
you are an Asian male,
they can never stand
you're
up
going
to
to
that.
behave a certain way, and that is where we're completely off base. Who you are should only be after the person learns who you are, and it shouldn't be based on they categorize into this. Oh, if a woman has short hair, she's automatically a lesbian. Oh, she's a lesbian, she's automatically in the feminist group. Oh, she's a feminist group, she probably doesn't believe in Christianity. Oh, if she doesn't believe in Christianity, she's probably an atheist. And that is just completely off base to assume that somebody is going to behave in all these same areas just because of one thing that you took notice. You know, Image at first sight is a big problem. I think, we see, oh, this tall black person. Oh, they must really like sports and be a basketball player. It's it's degrading. I mean, and look at white males. I mean, look at people like me. I get it all the time that I'm this racist,
Oh, I know,
and
and
and,
that's what sucks too, because
and I'm married to a Dominican.
dude,
You
dude,
know,
dude. The thing is, like, I'll get that too. When a lot when I was younger. Now I don't see it too much now, but I still will get it randomly. I'll see it randomly at times. But the thing is, when I was younger, my two idols growing up, one was Donald Driver, the other one was Michael Jordan. Those were my basic idols. Or it was like, like what do you say to people when when people hear that? They're like, "What? Yes, I grew up in a city. You know, I was surrounded by a lot of different culture. It's like, how do you and for people just immediately categorize you, like, especially this is what I see with the news. The mainstream media news will immediately go and attack a certain group and try to run with it for sensationalism. That's not any realistic journalism. It's sensationalism. It's like, and then they put it out there, and everybody believes it because they're popular. They're not necessarily popular because everybody watches them. They're popular because they're sponsored by certain organizations that have a lot of money.
yeah, pointing out irrelevant facts just for views is
And I see
not
this a lot
news.
now, and it's ridiculous. And people get so hooked into it, and they don't want to change course. They want to be drawn to what they're used to. For the longest time, we've had television where it just told us what to think and what to do. Now we have stuff like this where people can comment and tell their experience, and it's something that sort of breaks the rules. It sort of opens things up to discussion, and this is almost a blessing in disguise, because now we can actually get our voices out there where other people can hear it. And there's because if you watch TV, you can't comment. You're just told what to think from what their perspective is. You can't say anything back. It's a one-sided conversation that you're constantly watching. If you watch stuff like this and you get to talk to people, it's a two-sided conversation. There's actual conversations back and forth. You
Well,
know,
it's taken us 27 minutes so far to get our point across. The average person in a comment only has like 10 words before people are like, I'm not reading all this. So you try to be quick, you try to combine what you're trying to say, and oftentimes it just comes out poorly. And that's again what I'm trying to say is, we don't need a parade. You don't need to comment on everything. How many times have you gone through 5,000 comments and learn like the same
I
thing
don't.
over and over and over again? Oh, I love to go through comments. I mean, when I'm watching a 20-some minute video, I'm reading the comments the whole way through, and
If
it
it's an hour-long video, I'll see the comments. But if it's like one of the really popular YouTubers or people are constantly piling in comments over and over again, I just literally just open wide and just listen to people talking because it's too much. It's like too much to see. I can't. It's going to give me a headache if I'm looking at. If I'm watching a live stream, is what I'm saying. A live stream, the comments go do 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 for a really popular YouTuber, and you can't even keep up with it. But if it's like a normal pace, then yeah, I'll go ahead and watch what people are saying too, and kind of like jump in there and try to be a part of it. And I think that's what a lot of people want to see too. They want to be able to jump in there. They want to be interacted with, because
yeah,
that's
they
what
want
we
to
want.
interact, and
Yeah.
we want interaction, we want feedback. But the term "kill yourself" has gotten shorthanded.
And that's a horrible thing to
That's
say.
a horrible thing. That is
That's ridiculously bad. You know, we were even in a podcast before with that, and I was trying to make my point. I sort of felt like I got shouted down over that, but the fact is, it's just a fucking terrible thing to say because you just can't say that. There are people that are just too, what's the word?
sensitive.
Not sensitive. They're too suggestible,
Suggestible. That's a good choice. Okay.
and because of that, they might just do it. There's actually been some recorded cases of people actually committing suicide because other people told them to.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like you literally caused that person's death just by your words, you know, and, you know, words, thoughts, and actions, they all come into play, you know. But if you tell somebody something that extreme, it's basically saying, I would do it to you, but I don't want to get caught, so you do it yourself. That's exactly what people are saying when they say that. And it's like, I don't know, is that reverse psychology or is that passive aggressive? What? Maybe it's both.
I think
I'm
it's
not
like
sure what.
direct psychology.
Mm.
Reverse psychology, like, no, you shouldn't kill yourself. Take
Okay,
a hot
okay,
bubble
yes,
bath.
yes, it would be direct psychology. Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah,
well,
that's some horrible stuff that I don't even know why people even do that. I don't even know
and
why
again,
they think that. They shouldn't
I,
even be
I
thinking that.
reiterate the fact that I do not believe that saying something should put you in jail, except for, the obvious cases. I think kill yourself is a very borderline statement because,
I think
again,
almost
it's
like
suggestive.
I think saying that is like going to an airport and saying I have a bomb. I think it's borderline that because
Well, you
other
can't do
people are gonna
that.
what?
You can't go to an airport and say I have a bomb. I mean,
Well, yes,
it's
that's what I'm
insinuating
saying.
riot.
Yeah, you can definitely go and do that, but as soon as you do say that, people freak out because
Well,
they.
yeah, you can't insinuate a riot, and you can't basically force somebody to. You can't do something that advocates somebody else to commit a crime. It's like you're pretty much the main two things of speech that you're not
So
allowed to do.
then that would be a part of it. You're advocating for them to commit a crime to off themselves.
Right. And yeah, I think that, and I think it's just disgusting anybody who uses that terminology. I mean, some people are off base and they're not correct in, political ideas or how they view, these major topics of today. But that
This
doesn't
sort of comes back
necessarily
to that
mean.
joke that I was telling you about that Chris Rock said. He said something like, he wishes there were the same amount of white children that were possibly killed somehow in some way. You know, it just because the thing is, there's a lot of people with a lot of really serious mental health issues that will just take heed at whatever anybody tells them. You know, some people are so suggestible they'll just do whatever somebody says they could do or should do, and it's completely wrong. But some people are basically in a mind frame of YOLO all their life, and how do you stop that?
Well, YOLO shouldn't be a term of do anything you want. YOLO should be a term of do the right thing. You only
That's
get
not what
one
it means.
chance,
It doesn't say you only live once to do good, so it'd be YOLO DG. If I don't know if you were trying to say something else to add to it, but it just basically means just you want to do whatever in life
YOLO,
because you only.
YOLO, so watch out. You only live once, so watch out.
Yeah, I guess you could try. You'd have to add stuff to it though, but
I'm not about to hashtag that. I don't
no,
really do the
no,
whole
that
hashtag
wouldn't
thing.
work. I don't think anybody'd want to. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in life that we have the opportunity to say and do, but we have to think about it somewhat before we actually act upon saying these certain things. Like the killing yourself thing is definitely wrong. Certain jokes people say are definitely wrong. Um, some things are definitely borderline, but yeah,
Well,
that's
I've always made this comment about anytime you're trying to correct somebody, it's because you're actually trying to help them. If somebody says, oh, 2 + 2 = 5, you want to be like, no, it equals 4. And how angry will you get if I'm like, no, it equals 5? I'm telling you it equals 4. If you really don't care about that person, you really, it doesn't matter to you, let them be wrong. But we are a race of people that want to help other people and progress together, and yet it seems like we're so off base on how to do that we get so angry and we forget that we are actually to the point where if this person can't learn, they just we need to get rid of them. And that's disgusting. I mean, what would happen if we lose a whole Democratic side and we all Republicans are the only thing? I don't necessarily know. It just becomes two Republicans running each other, and Democrats is a thing of the past.
Which actually could be the possible case in the near future. The way that CNN has been purporting all this nonsense that they can't even back up. And people immediately will be like, oh, you watch Fox News. No, I don't. I don't watch either of them.
Well,
just certain
what's
things.
His name? Tucker on Fox News. I think he's just as guilty.
Well, the fact is, here's the thing with media outlets and stuff. As soon as you get to the top and you're at the top, if you're getting paid and you're getting sponsorships, they're going to keep feeding you money so that you stay at the top. You're going to find any way possible to stay at the top. You're going to make up bullshit. You're going to make up sensationalism. You're going to do all this kind of stuff. People that are at the top and they have this greed for money and all that, they're not going to find a way to back down. They're not going to find a way to try to be honest. They're just going to keep purporting lies if it gets them views. That's it.
Yeah, you're going to say what you have to say. If all of a sudden somebody's just like, you know what, I sympathize with you, and I think we could work things out and maybe come to an agreement. All of a sudden, they'll just lose views. I mean, and then all of a sudden, it's like you're forced to behave a certain way.
Exactly. And that's the reason why people get angry with music bans as soon as they become more of a popular thing. They were upset. Kurt Cobain kind of wanted to go he actually did want to be popular. They were upset with Pearl Jam as soon as they tried to be more mainstream, because they were sort of a niche group. They were trying to be within they were trying to make music for the particular group that they felt connected to. And as soon as something tries to go popular, it'll just do whatever it takes to stay within that upper range. That's why a lot of times you watch a lot of these, or you listen to a lot of these old groups and you're like, their older CDs were better. Yeah, because they were staying true to how they felt. They were being themselves. They weren't trying to be popular for everybody. They weren't trying to make as much money by being as generalized and normalized as everybody else. They were trying to be who they were, and I just see that, it's like, I see that. It's just the way things are. I mean, you look at the way things get censored now, with swearing and stuff like that. Like on YouTube, if I say the F word or something like that, and you're reading the closed captions, it'll literally not even show up. And it'll be blank for a while because they want to censor that sort of stuff. But they let other things ride, that they shouldn't let ride. Somebody was talking about, I can't remember what it was, but I think there's some kind of porn thing on here that you can look for and it'll show up. Yeah, you type in a certain thing and it can actually show up. So, I mean, but even Twitch, you look at Twitch, you look at the in real life area feed, and you'll see a lot of sexualized content, which Twitch is supposed to be a gaming video streaming service, but it will allow other stuff because it becomes a cash cow.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a big thing too. Companies, it's not about morality and it's not about what they believe. It just becomes about how can they make money. I mean, my example always is, you hear all the time, press 1 or press 2 for Spanish, but you don't really have German and Vietnamese and Cantonese, and because honestly, it just doesn't. There's not enough of a market for that. So what reason do we care about those kind of people, you know? And that's if they really, really cared, you'd have to go into a press two for the list of all alternate languages, you know, and as we call out your language, you know, but it just comes into, you know, Spanish. I guess you could say, well, Spanish is a secondary language in our country, um, and that's the only reason we have that. But again, that Spanish wasn't always a secondary language, but for what reason did we put it on? Because there was a market for it. I mean, people realize that a lot of people speak Spanish, they don't speak English, and we want their money. So
Yeah,
we have to cater
yeah.
to them. And there's not, I don't really, you know, believe there's
Which is
anything
why,
wrong.
you know, when things actually come back, when you put more jobs within that particular nation, because then people work there, they make the money there, they sell the product outward, and the money comes back to the country, and it can sustain itself. You know, that's what happens in every country. Any successful country will be exporting more than they'll be importing,
Right.
because they're exporting the goods, they're importing the money back to the country. Or if they're making it in the country, they're selling it to the country, the wealth stays within the country. The gold value or the oil value now probably, which is most of what America is based upon, is oil value based upon our uh, current outside sources that uh, help us with stock market value, you know, gold, oil production, that sort of stuff. That value, if we hold it, our money is more valuable, meaning that we could go anywhere we want to, and we're also richer internally, you know. But you know that's some reason why I kind of like the fact that we're kind of growing here more, you know. And I think that's like an important thing too for our country. I don't know. It's interesting, you know. Most people base our you know our value of our country based upon who the president is, but I think it really comes down to policies mostly. And you'll say,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's based on the president too. He'll, you know, veto or let something through, but it really is based upon a lot of other factors that go into it, you know, more than just the president. But
Well, it really upsets me, you know, a lot of, you know, like the caravan coming up here and the hatred we have towards people, you know, it gets so technical. I don't see anything wrong with more people coming to this country. I do agree they need to do it legally. I mean, and I saw that video, I think it was MSNBC that posted where the tear gas is going into a woman with uh, holding a child. And then I saw the other side where they said, you know, they're actually not supposed to be in this area. It's clearly says restricted. So that woman was putting her child in a danger zone. You know, my wife says it all the time. How could you do that? You know, how could you endanger your child hoping I get it, you're hoping for a better life, but at the same time, there's got to be a better system of how we do this. I mean, and instead of arguing about it, we need to figure it out. If there's a caravan of 7,000 people headed towards our country, you know, let's put our heads together and figure out what's the best way to go about doing this.
well, I
You know,
heard they were going to do some job fairs and that sort of thing in Mexico to kind of help take care of that. But I mean, if people rush the border and they try to attack it and get over it, I mean, are you just supposed to let them go through just
yeah, I
because they
agree.
want to
I
be
agree with
there?
Trump's term invasion. I 100% agree with that term. That
I mean,
is an
how do you
invasion.
deal with that? Do you just put them into a little area somewhere? I mean, you literally put them in the detention center for a while to see if they should be able to come through? The fact is, some people, if they're claiming asylum, then they could go through the rights of claiming asylum and getting over. But if they're just rushing and just jumping over the wall and stuff like that, um, if they get, oh, here's the thing: if you let it happen one time, it'll continuously happen. Then anybody could come over.
Absolutely.
And the fact is, you know, if people are complaining about Russian collusion
Well, this
and they're complaining about this, it's like it kind of fights itself. Then basically
this is
anybody can
always
come over Mexico at any point in time, get in here and just be here just because they did it. You know,
this is always my
even our good
point.
friend was a Coast Guard, and he said if they made it to land, it's like Ghoul. They get $6,000 and they get to stay. But if they don't get the land, they get sent back, because you patrol the waters, around Florida and stuff like that. But that's a fact. Like, if you make it, it's just weird.
Oh man, I didn't realize that my computer was dying here.
Oh, gotta plug it in.
Well, no, it is plugged in. It just it wasn't charged. The light was on. It just the little lightning bolt wasn't charging it. So
Hmm.
I think I'll be okay. I caught it. It's a low battery, but I shifted it here. I think yeah, but I mean that's we're kind of getting a little bit off topic, but I think it's the duty of the people that we elect to come to a conclusion on how to handle this. Whether it be what you necessarily believe in or not necessarily believe in, we need to figure out a way to go about handling this. But what always confuses me is when Obama was president, these people would have had a much better chance to come in.
I
Why
don't think
wait
they
until
got deported when they came in.
why wait till Trump is president to start this caravan idea?
I think half the time it's mostly political ideation. I think there's a lot of political forces that go into play, and as soon as they see something they don't like, they jump on it, and they don't look into the past to see if their side was for it before. They just see it now, and they see it's a terrible thing now because they're not getting their way, and they just want to find a way to insult, put down, denote the other political factor to make them look bad. And I think both sides do this on a tactical level. Half the time, most people don't look into the past to see, well, your side just did it like no more than 4 years ago. Now you're bitching about it now? You just did it. Why are you complaining?
Well,
You're a
exactly.
guilty party to this because you've never researched this, and your own party did this beforehand.
I think that, we need to play this idea that a president only has 2 terms. 8 years is all they're going to get. And we need to be willing to just try ideas out because it's not even the president, really. I mean, it's more the Congress. I mean, we elect these people, we give them a paycheck, and they bounce it around. And, oh, it's the political party that we can't make a real decision. And nothing gets done, but the problems are still coming our way. And it's like, do we just give these people a good paycheck to not solve our biggest problems that we face right now?
Yeah, pretty much. Most people don't even think about that at all. And the problem is, like, I'd like to get more involved. I just see, like, sort of the tactical ways that people do, the way people do things, because almost every single time you're thinking about anything, there's a tactical, strategic reason for it. Placement of a particular location because there's a good resource to grab from that location. Usually wars are kind of based upon this too. There is some kind of resource, drugs, oil, gold, wood, any kind of resource. When you play certain games, you attack certain locations because you want to strategically place your stuff so you can get the most resource. You don't want to go for places that have no resources. And that's how a lot of things happen, even with politics too. A lot of politics, because it comes down to that. If you have a strategic way of beating somebody else, it's like a game of chess. You're trying to outthink them. You're trying to outdo what they're thinking. And if you can do that better than the opponent, and gain the most value, you
Well,
win.
and that's our problem is that we're doing this to each other in our own country versus being a country united. I mean, we can't call ourselves the United States if we're not united.
I know. Technically, we're divided a lot of the time. We're not. We say we're united. If somebody attacks us, then we say we're united. We go counterattack them. But otherwise, for the most part, we're always divided in everything, like every little detail. You
And the
know.
internet has done a great job of showing that. You think with 1 million plus people to communicate their points across that we could start saying, oh, this person's making a really good point. let's give him some more likes. Let's, add on to his idea. Let's, show areas where we think his idea is flawed. And, maybe he can, you know, address that and explain why he thinks that way, or, learn something and think, okay, we can make a really good idea, but it's just not happening. And it doesn't even happen with, again, the people we're electing. I mean, every time, how many times you just hear, oh, well, the Republicans didn't let us get our way, so we're not going to be able to do what we want. Oh, the Democrats, it's the same thing. They control the House, so, they're not going to let us do what we. I mean, I heard that somewhere, that as soon as the Democrats controlled the House, that's what they apparently said, that they are going to go against everything Trump says. That is horrendous to me. I mean, just horrendous that you don't even want to hear what our leader says. You just want to go against it. That is not progressive. That is the opposite of progressive, and we'll never be able to progress as a nation if we don't start valuing each other's ideas and coming up with a real conclusion, or coming up with a reasonable debate. And
Well, yeah, it's like we're children on a playground, and we picked permanent teams for the rest of the year. You can never move to the other side because maybe the other side has, something that you might resonate with at times. You have to stay on your side permanently. You can never fluctuate. You can never bounce around back and forth. And they don't even do it. They want to stay on one particular side, and they won't, they don't work. I've
well,
heard the
like,
bipartisanship, and I don't think anything really works. Everybody just wants
look
to
at
stay in their own pocket and never
look at
move.
Shapiro. You know, I think Shapiro's a great guy. I think there's some things I don't necessarily agree with. I'll need to get into specifics. But when he first started, he always had this tone that was a bit condescending, and I think that you can't really help that with certain people. Their demeanor is their demeanor. But he started out really trying to educate with people. But how many times do you see him going against the same group of people? He's made his point. You know, you don't need to make your point to every single individual who disagrees with you. It gets to be the point where it's like, where this person stands on it. What he needs to do is really go the next step, organize and compose his ideas written down. I suppose if he wrote a book, I would read it. Did he write a book ever? I don't know. But it just gets to be
Oh,
this
me?
argument. No, Ben Shapiro.
Oh,
I don't know if I'd read your book. It depends how
oh,
long it is.
oh, come on. It'd be good.
I'm just speaking my mind. I just and I don't know. Like I said, I mean, there's like 20 different videos of Shapiro arguing against why gender fluid is not a good thing, and I do agree with him for the most part. However, you only needed one video, but why do you have 20? So you can watch, you can have 20 million views instead of just 1 million views. And there's really no reason for this. Crowder's doing the same thing, he's
Well, they're trying to get to what contests, because it's like what we talked about. If we stir up some shit, Brad, we're gonna get so many people angry that they're gonna jump down our throats with anything we say. We could do that. I don't see a valid reason for doing it other than, trying to jump the popularity scale like everybody else. But I don't think that's the way things should work. I think here's the thing. You create in this world what you want. A lot of people, even secret societies will believe in this sort of stuff. And if you create a lot of hate, you can make the divide and conquer strategy. And you can make it work. And so when you make all these videos about it, I think the fact is people can think what they want, with that sort of thing. But ultimately, what I kind of think, like my personal understanding of it is, it seems like it's just a generational thing that happens. Like we had the hippies, what was it? Not the bean.
I know the term you're looking for, the beatniks.
Beatniks, yes. We had the beatniks, we had the hippies, then we went on to the goth, then we went on to the grunge, the goth, and it's always
And
within
the punk.
the punk, And now we've gone to, the LGBTQ thing and the gender fluid thing. So every single generation within 10 years, something new pops up where a teenage group wants to be recognized as a powerful, influential group and very different and than everything else. And they want it to be stamped in time as that being, you know,
Part of the, yeah.
part
No,
of the
I hear
system.
you.
And that gets added to the system. Other people realize, oh, this is a real thing now. And it seems to happen every about every 10 years. And so when the alpha generation like comes up to play, they'll get seen for something else, and then this whole LGBTQ, this fluid gender thing, is going to sort of be looked down upon or laughed upon or just ignored, just like our
Or
generation
maybe it'll
was
be
with
triumphant. Maybe it'll be triumphant, and the people who were, opposite of it, maybe they'll, because that's where we're headed. That's what I'm saying. I
I'm
don't
just saying,
necessarily.
like I could see people wanting to be on this particular parade, but that float is going to deflate at some point, and then a new one's going to appear in its place 10 years later, and everything that was beforehand will be completely forgotten about. So this whole gender fluid thing everybody's so angry about, it's just going to go to the wayside. I mean, people will still talk about it to some degree, but nobody's going to give it any serious clarity because unless it's
What do
scientifically
you think would be the
provable.
solution for gender fluid? Do you think we should just create a second, or excuse me, a third bathroom, or do you think we should? For all I care, it'd be the best strategy: one bathroom only, with one toilet only.
Oh gosh, dude, nobody would ever freaking get to pee. Every one person will always be stuck in there. You know what you're going to have in the future? I can almost bet. You're going to have multiple, you're going to have the bathrooms turn into multiple bathrooms, and they're all going to be locked. So when you go into one general area, you'll find multiple doors all locked, all around in a circle. Something like that. And then it won't matter where you go, because when you go in there, it'll be completely private just to you. But that will make it a little more complicated for men that just want to go to a stall and pee on a wall. Because it's like, now you got to close the door, now you got to lock it. Now, I don't know. To me, it would feel like it would be a little more complicated because it's like, this is definitely not what I was hoping for. This is not what I expected. And the fact is
Well, I
that
don't like to pee next to people anyway. I don't care who they are.
I'm not so much into it anyways, but I mean, if I got to go and I just want to go fast, I'm just going to go. But it's different for a lot of people. That I'm just saying what I think it is because it seems like every 10 years a new generation pops out. They proclaim something that's really awesome and that's a part of who they are, a part of what society should be, and expresses themselves, and it stamps into time.
What do
And
you think
people,
will be the next big thing we start complaining
oh
about?
geez, I have no clue. It could just cycle itself around. It could be like the beatniks and the hippies again. The next time around. Could literally just be just that. We could just cycle around in a circle. I don't know what was before that. So you have the baby boomers and the silent generation, and then what generation? But what were their main things that they did? There was the swingers, which were kind of before the hippies, but it was sort of the same thing in a way. I mean, sexually speaking, it's sort of the same thing. It's kind of like casual sex, with most of those groups.
Well, every time we get distracted from, issues where businesses can kind of do what they want. I mean, I was watching what's that show that the Border Patrol, and they found cartons of cigarettes coming in from China that said made in the USA. And that really scares me. I mean, this scares me so much. Not that I'm necessarily worried about everything coming in from China that it's poisonous or something,
You think it'll be even more poison? Cigarettes are already poisonous, but like more
but
poisonous than usual. Like you don't know what
well,
the hell they put in there.
I mean, I watched a documentary where they say that, a, a certain amount of the garlic, like almost all the garlic comes from China, and they say it's, organic, but it's really just coming out of prison labor camps and stuff. I don't necessarily know what to believe, and I think that becomes the agenda when somebody tries to say the truth. You read about it and you're disgusted, and then 2 hours later, it's just like, well, it's probably not even true. So
Yeah, because you're
it
not
gets
there. You're not there, man. I think the fact is, if you really want to know what's coming out of China, listen to somebody that's actually there talking about it as they're there, but not like sensationalism. Like the thing is, most people are so warped into sensationalism because we've been so used to regular television for the longest time. It just tells us what to think and what to do. That as soon as they say it, because they've been popular because they have a lot of money, not necessarily because people are actually watching them. You can see that it's pretty evident with a lot of big YouTubers and big podcasters and things like that. But you got to listen to somebody that's actually there. Like if you wanted to know about Vietnam, watch a YouTube podcast or watch a YouTube video live feed of somebody that's actually living in Vietnam. If you just listen to news reporters that are here describing their experience, it's not as accurate, because I can tell you the truth. When I went overseas and I was in other countries, I could talk to the people there and see how they actually felt about certain events. And they would tell me about those events firsthand. So when I came back here to the States and I'm listening to the news talk about it, it's like, you guys are way fucking off. You don't even, you got your head so far up your ass. You don't even know what you're talking about. Everybody's feeding this bullshit that half the time is spewed, because what ends up happening is a lot of the news feeds will tell you something to make you feel comfortable, so you won't do anything about it. You'll just stay on their side, no matter what their side or gender is. I just see this. There's a lot of bad things that happen in other countries that we don't even know about. And there's a lot of things that don't happen bad in other countries that we're told about. I mean, there's bad things happening in South Africa, where farmers are literally getting killed off and pushed out of their land because they want to change the system. Most of America doesn't even really know this, and it's kind of purported in some ways, because if one person says one thing, the other political side will say it's fake and attack them for it and discard it. But if you don't actually research this, you don't actually look for it, you're just going to listen to all the garbage that, the
I was
television's
watching
going to
this.
tell you.
I was watching this YouTube video about this guy was undercover, and he was asking, how can I report? Can I make a report to a police officer, about a police officer doing something inappropriate or something like that? And I mean, you have to question if this is true or not, because the some of these police officers were just so off color, and it was revolting. Honestly, it was repulsive. It was disgusting. The way that like the one police officer, the guy was complaining, saying the police officer, like slammed him up against the wall because he was videotaping, and he said, I have my right, and he's reporting it, and he said he threatened me, and the police officer silently said, over the phone, he said he should have just killed you. And the guy's like, excuse me? And then you hear another woman in the background saying, oh my gosh, he heard you. And I'm thinking, like, is this true? Is this honestly true? Is there really police officers that are really saying this kind of stuff? It's so,
Yeah, that's why they need to have they need to have cams on their chests at all times, because they're enforcing laws all the time. And if they screw up very badly, or they do something that's just irreproachable, who's to contest them? I mean, how are you going to just randomly walk up to a police officer and say, I'm citizen arresting you for saying this or for doing this? You might get tasered for that, dude. Just going up, like, and the fact is, who has the balls to do that? Not many people have the balls to go up to a police officer saying, I'm citizen arresting you because you decided to turn on your police lights and just go through a red light just so you could just go on your merry way.
Well, you can't citizen arrest on it. Citizen arrest can only be through a felony.
I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to make a complaint, you wanted to do something, you saw something bad that was happening, more than that, and you wanted to citizen arrest somebody for something, how are you going to do it? Do you have the courage to do that? Do most people have the courage to do that? Or are they just like, I just want to get home and watch Netflix? I don't want to have to deal with this right now. Most people just have that mindset. Like, they're coming home, they want to relax, or, they just don't know if they want to get involved, with something like that.
One time I was driving and I saw something in the middle of the road and it looked like a coat, very small, like child's coat. And I stopped the car, I put my four ways on, and I went out and I checked it. And my wife is like, "Are you nuts? Like, what are you doing getting out of the car?" And I said, I thought it could be actually the way it angled, it looked like a little kid, like was left out in the street. It was just a coat. I didn't even know it was a coat at first. It was just a coat. But yeah, to answer your question, I think I would. I think that if I saw somebody beating on somebody else, I'd call the police and then I'd just walk over and be like, "Look, I've already called the police. But you get so afraid. Yeah, I know what you mean. You get afraid
Yeah,
that
but if it's
somebody's going
like
to
a
pull out a
dirty
weapon.
cop and stuff, as soon as you get to a dirty cop, which, the fact is people get through the system. Scum people always get through the system. They're there.
Well,
And
you
how do you deal with
videotape,
it?
you videotape, and that's why we elect judges. Because
But that's why they're carrying out the law. So they should always have a video camcorder on them at all times when they're on duty, and it should work. It should be recording. What they're doing, because they're part of the reason is that if they say what they believe happened, but the video recording doesn't say what they believe happened, then they're not in their right mind to do their job. Now, whether they were on drugs or they're mentally ill, who knows? I mean, it's just they weren't in the right mind to do it. And that would actually make it more accurate for the people that do get caught up in a system where, you know, bad things have happened to them and they couldn't do anything about it because they had nobody to protect them and there were dirty cops and stuff like that. That definitely should be a legitimate thing all the time. Cops should have a camcorder on their chest at all times because the fact is they have a gun with them at all times. So if they just said, "Oh, this guy attacked me and I had to defend myself," that can be bullshit. Because even in my past, there was a situation where you know someone provoked me and there wasn't anything I could do about it. I just had to kind of take it at the time because I wasn't like a leader of that particular system. When I don't want
I
to go
just
into
want to
details. It's a little too personal, but the fact is, like, it
I
sort of
just want to
happened to me.
point out that again, we are referring to a very small, at least I am, a very small amount of the police. I 100% believe that police are necessary. I 100% believe that the major majority of police are good police officers who are trying to do their job. I do
I'm with
think
you on that too. I
I
am.
do think that you do occasionally get, police officers who hassle you. I mean, I've been witness to that. I've been witness to police officers doing things that are inappropriate. However, almost every time I've ever questioned a police officer who's doing something inappropriate to me, they've usually been pretty good about it, you know. But I got to be honest with you, when you're recording a police officer and you're giving the police officer the hardest time you possibly can over a routine traffic stop, and this police officer has, you know, been working in the system for tens of years, knows that, a lot of these people try to play these games. And I mean, come on, you expect them to have a good attitude with you? I
No,
get it. I get it that,
they're not
you
going to.
might know the law. I understand you might know the law. I understand you might be within your right to act a certain way. But again, you're criticizing a guy who has honestly, who knows, my neighbor, when I used to live with my mom, he was a police officer. We used to watch his kids. And I can't thank him enough because one time he pulled over this truck that was riding low, no reason other than it was riding low. And turns out this guy was a Middle Eastern man who was on the FBI's most wanted list. In the back of this guy's car were empty soda cans, some loose wires, and some kind of clay. Nothing explosive, just soda cans, wires, and clay. You could research it, in my area since you know where I'm from.
You're really sure
And
it wasn't?
he was
It didn't
headed
smell like
towards.
almonds or anything.
No, they stated there was no explosives on it, but he was headed towards a power plant.
That
It,
all sounds very much like a bomb to me.
it, It absolutely sounds like a bomb. Now, I think that somebody else had the bomb, had the explosives, and they were going to do what they needed to do. But for all we know, this guy saved tens of thousands of lives. And, you know,
They probably couldn't recognize the clay because it was probably part explosive and part clay. It wasn't a big enough mix for them to understand, chemically speaking. Because he could have
well,
tried something like that, where it was like, well, if I get caught, they're gonna
and
think it's regular
and who
clay.
knows? Maybe the media didn't even want to put it. Maybe
Or
the
maybe,
FBI didn't release what it was.
yeah, and exactly because, dude, when I was in the military, before 9/11 even happened, I knew about an explosion that happened on a military
This was before
vessel.
9/11. Yeah.
Before 9/11 happened, I knew about an explosion on a military vessel that happened that they said it was a terrorist attack. And they told us in the military before anybody else in a regular, any media source even knew about it. I was just in basic at the time, but I was on a military base, so they told me because they were, I guess everybody knew, so they went and decided to tell everybody, but they're like, don't tell anybody, this, the media will catch on within a week or two or something like that. But the fact is, certain organizations, they're going, people within an organization will know, but other people outside won't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's scary stuff. I mean, I think that these other countries have a lot of people that really are just good people that got put in these situations that are, impossible to escape from. Because, I think a lot of people are always like, well, why don't you stay in your own country and then just start working your way up from ground zero? And that's a very hard thing to accomplish, especially when somebody's just going to come by and destroy it. You know, Short of a huge revolt. I mean, we had a civil war. Of course, it wasn't, because there was terrorists in our country, but, you could say that this, but it's very hard to fight a civil war when you're going to be completely outgunned. I mean,
And the weirdest thing is like this whole thing with Trump seems like it was going to boil over into a big civil war, but I really just think it was Trump doesn't mind saying stupid shit half the time, and he does, but half the time,
well,
some of the things he's saying have some validation to it, or what they're saying against him is bullshit too, and it just turns into a big.
The problem with saying all these random comments just makes it that other people are going to misinterpret it, and before you realize it, I mean, like I said, the most popular one is Trump says that fake news is the enemy of the press. Or, I mean, what is it? Or he said fake news
Well,
is
the
the
thing is,
enemy.
if they talk about the collusion
I
that
said that
never
wrong.
actually existed for 2+ years with no indictment, no conviction, no court time, no nothing, it's a bunch of bullshit. Because if any of that actually happened, there would be something there. Like Hillary literally had to go to court for the missing emails. She was in what court was that? She was in, but
I,
she was there and she had to answer questions for that. Other people said she would have gone to Leavenworth if she wasn't a candidate, for that sort of stuff. Like literally, that's like a very big offensive thing to do. How did she get out of way? How did she get away with that? The fact that Trump hasn't gone to court, nothing has actually happened with any of that stuff, just means that all that stuff that CNN reported for 2+ years is all bullshit, sensationalism. They're just like, oh, we might think we might know something, and it's really bad, and we're going to get him for it, and just stay tuned, and we'll keep talking about it forever, and it's going to be really bad, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and it's just a big, it's like,
yeah,
why the hell
that
am I even watching this stuff? This is
this is
stupid.
genuine. This is genuinely how I became a believer. Was that comment is enemy of the people? He said, "Fake news is the enemy of the people." Over and over and over again, he says this. And the news says that Trump said the press is, and then they quote, enemy of the people. But Trump never said, and they can't quote the whole line because he never said the press is the enemy of the people. Stalin said that, but not Trump.
Stalin said that?
Yeah. Stalin said the press is the enemy of the people. At least that's something that I read somewhere. Who knows if that's true, you know?
Okay.
But and it just sickens me that a news media can put that Trump said the press is, quote, the enemy of the people. They quoted him on half of his sentence because he never said the press is the
Yeah, and
enemy of the people.
that's what's screwed up about things. Cherry picking is the biggest lie ever. You literally cherry pick this little piece and that little piece, and you try to put them together like a mosaic, and it might look nice, but it's not the truth of the fact.
I
It's not the
mean,
whole fact there altogether. You can't do that.
even
That's
all
wrong.
right, even the term when the beginning term when he said, when Mexicans are coming over the border, we're not getting their best. I really, really agree that was the wrong way to say that,
That
but
that was an angry statement, and it was the wrong way to say it. But he was trying to include that one group that tortures, kills, and rapes people. Which literally, if you watch more of what he was talking about, that there is a real cartel group that actually does these wicked, demonic, evil things to people, and they get away with it. And he was trying to refer to that, but the way that he termed it was not
but
good.
didn't I'm not positive, but I think he even said when people are coming from Mexico. I'm not even sure if he said Mexicans. I'm not positive. I could be wrong because I felt like he was really trying to make the comment. He's not even necessarily referring to Mexicans. He's referring to the fact that people aren't. You could have said the same thing through Canada, but I think Canada has a bit more border control. And so, when you weigh your two options, what's the better place? You come in through Mexico and then you go in through the United States. Doesn't necessarily mean it's all Mexicans. It could very well be Russians. It could very well be Chinese. Not saying that all of them, other countries are bad people too, but if you can find a way in, I was watching another border patrol, with Alaska, how there's like one guard at this area to get in through Alaska, and he feels so important because he's like, if they get in through here, it's only a hop skip to be able to get in to the rest of the country because you won't need a passport anymore to get over. He's like, so I really have to be diligent in making sure people don't just get into this area. And it's so true. I mean, you think how many people are trying to get in through Alaska, or Hawaii? You think, wouldn't that be a good way to do it? You know, take a boat, go over to Hawaii, then get your papers, and then come over from,
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
one of these other areas. But for some reason, I think they know that Mexico's the easiest way to get into the country,
Well, because
illegally.
there's locations that are just south of that are border of Mexico and the United States that there's no nothing to stop you from crossing the border. I mean, it can be a little bit of a vast desert, but if you have some supplies, you just walk past there.
I think it's like 80 miles. You got to go like 80 miles. If you can get 80 miles through the desert, which is pretty tough to do.
But you bring
I
a
mean,
bunch of water and some food, you can easily do it. I mean, it's not like you need anything serious. I mean, you probably need a blanket to sleep at night. Other than that, I don't know like if I had to
I don't know, 80,
survival get my way
80
to
miles pretty
Mexico
far.
or get back into the United States, it wouldn't be so hard. Not for me. I could do it. I've camped out before. I know how to, survive in these type of scenarios. It's not that hard. Like if you and plus for people that are really really gung ho wanting to do it, they'll do it, and then nobody's going to stop them. But then when I get here, you're going to have people along the border expecting people coming over, paying them dirt cheap labor because they know they can get away with it, under minimum wage labor. And that's really the horrific thing, that they come over here expecting like a better life. And when they come over illegally, they get treated like, nothing good. Like their lives don't value, they get very little money because the people that will allow to pay for them will give them like $5 an hour or $2 an hour, something like that. It'll be really ridiculously low because they don't want to report, they want cheap labor. And some of these heavy corporations that want cheap labor will pay them practically nothing so that they don't have to report it on taxes and the person doesn't technically exist within their system, but they're doing work for them and they're giving them just a little bit of money and they're making all the profit themselves. So it's not just illegals coming over, but it's these corporations that are taking advantage of that too. And I
Well,
think, like, maybe it's more money here than it was there. I don't know. Like, when I was looking at the difference of Brazil compared to United States, our value was almost 4 times the value as theirs. So, like, if you go to certain countries and your value is 3 to 4 times the value, you're a rich man or a rich woman if you go over there. You
when
know,
it comes to things like farming, this becomes such a dangerous thing because you're right. Yeah, they're making more of the profit, but you're also like changing the whole value of everything. When you can make things more available for cheaper at a forced way to do it, you mess up the whole money scheme. If it's basically if you don't follow the rules, it's going to mess things up, and that's pretty much the bottom line. Again, we're getting really off topic on my original thing. I think we're still speaking our minds, so we're on topic of
I
the
think we should
thing.
just
But
roll with it, dude. I mean, we're still speaking our minds technically, but I don't know what else. Where you want to. What were you trying to talk about? I know last time you wanted to talk about the one dude that made the one comment on the Steven Crowder video, and we did talk about it a bit. But if you want to go over it again, we
well,
can.
it's funny because I actually just today found another video of that exact part, only on the other side. Where they're like, Steven Crowder really got destroyed. It was about the autism comment. Where he said that's just an autistic way of thinking. And I mean, that just drove me nuts. It really drove me nuts. That it didn't drive me nuts what he said, because what drove me nuts is, first off, everybody's saying, "Oh, Crowder advocates free speech, but he got so triggered." Well, again, Crowder didn't say, "I'm doing a citizen's arrest for your speech." He advocated the freedom of speech. He's just saying that it was a dick thing to say,
Exactly.
and
Like what you said.
that's perfectly fine, And
Like what you told me with the comment that you were making, or what happened with the other thing that happened.
that guy gave up after I returned that last comment. He didn't respond anymore.
I'm just saying, like, if you what was he associating autism with? What was the other thing he associated with?
I'd have to watch it.
Was it the Republican side, or it was anti-liberal side? What was it?
I'd have to watch it exactly again. Mostly because it was very brief the way he said it.
But either way, like what you told me
It
before,
was more on the Republican side. Yeah.
It was the Republican side?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. That is insulting to people with autism, and it's insulting to people that are Republican, because the fact is, being autistic or having autism means that you have a problem that other people don't understand socially. But then being Republican, it's like you're insulting two different parties, two different types of groups that are completely independent and separate from each other. You're including them together. And he was trying to raise the autistic group at the same time downgrading them and downgrading the Republican Party.
Well,
and it didn't make any sense. It's like he's literally trying
the only
to
difference.
Like I told you, he's trying to connect. He's trying to say cats and humans are the same because they both think. That's not even remotely true. It doesn't make any
The only
sense.
reason he didn't say, "Oh, that's retarded," is because retarded has become taboo. We don't say that anymore.
Yeah, and we used to say it all the time.
People used to say it all the time, and I even made the joke that you could be referring to your brake retards. It slows things to slow down, but it's not. It's become taboo to mock certain people, but not taboo to mock other people. People who get panic attacks. Well, that's still like, oh, they're just faking it and stuff. They're not taken as seriously as someone with Down syndrome. Now, obviously, they're two different things, and you can argue, well, someone with Down syndrome goes through much larger struggles than someone with panic attacks. But again, that becomes a degree factor. There's certainly people with panic attacks who cannot function at all in life because everything they see, their throat closes up and they can't function. So you get into this factor of, are we going to accept everybody's problems? Because currently we're only accepting some people's problems. When we weren't accepting gay people's issues, they revolted and they made their stand. And I feel like the norm started to become, well, you know what? It's true. There really is no reason why we're not being tolerable towards people, gay people. It's not right the way. But I felt like it went a little bit too far in the sense that now you can't say that's gay because, you can't
Well,
say
if
anything.
something is gay, it's gay. It's not. You could feel like it's somewhat humorous to you in a sense, but it's still like if something is gay, it's gay. It's just it's gay.
Well, what about alcoholism? I mean, are we allowed to mock people with alcoholism?
Well, if you say somebody's drunk, it's because they look drunk. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm sounding a bit insensitive, but the fact is, and that like we were talking about autism. I've got Asperger's. Like and some other people know too. But the fact is that was lumped into autism, which beforehand it was a separate category. You've got the Asperger's here and autism there. And as soon as I found out about that, I had a different friend that was still making those jokes, you know, because most people say Asperger's, which technically there's no B there, it's a P. And the way it's spelled, you would never say that. But most of America will actually still say that because there was a different YouTube video that joked about it. People got used to that and they say that. Or else it's just the way people want to say the inflection. But that's not how you would say it. But it sounds insulting. Before I thought about that, it didn't care. It didn't matter to me. But then when I got diagnosed with it, I don't know. It just struck a chord, And as soon as people started to say that and I tried to correct them, even some people that were doctors, they wouldn't even listen to me. It's like, how do you spell the word? And then how would you say it? It doesn't even make any sense. Like you're completely off topic and it's almost like you're trying to be insulting, but in a I don't care really way. This is the way people have gotten used to it and I just don't care right now. You know, but like when it comes to stuff like that and it comes to autism and things like that, some people are going to care more. And I think the fact is if you don't have that particular thing, you just don't care. It's like when you say something's gay, it's because maybe you're not gay and you see this as gay and you say it's gay. you don't
Well,
you don't put a lot of emphasis on it because it's not something that you're into, attributed to, afflicted with.
again, going back to like the original beginning of this whole conversation is we need to accept that people are different and they experience differences, you know, and we need to be tolerable to that. But the law is the law. We need to lay down the law. And at the same time, we need to teach people, these younger people, that somebody is going to mock you. It's going to happen. This isn't something that we can get rid of. And you need to accept that that's the person with the problem. And, I could get grief on that because people would say it's not a problem. The person with the problem has the problem. I'm allowed to say what I have to say. But, that's a whole nother disease in itself then. Having to say something about everything is like a disease. To not be able to leave a comment alone, to not, that's
Well,
that's
maybe
like a
you, man.
disease.
I don't comment on everything I see because there's certain things that I just kind of have to let go. I'm like, I can't, I just can't, there's just certain things I can't get it too involved in because it ends up being too stressful. Like I'm gonna go out of my mind trying to help convince somebody that, I think that they're wrong about something or I think that there's a better way to do something. It's gonna be too much, you know. But I mean, I'm gonna speak my mind on a lot of topics, There's plenty of topics, there's plenty of things I've said before, and there's plenty of things that I've helped push through because of it's and it comes down to like a lot of things are strategic explanations towards things. Like you you find the best way to say something. If you say something sort of half-assed or you don't have all the facts, you're not strategically developing your vocalization of that particular thing. And like what we do with a lot of things is most of the time, and that's why I keep bringing up the media thing, is because most of the time it doesn't seem like they want to strategically get it right. It looks like they just want to look popular. And I think the fact is the reason you see a lot of these other independent journalists do a lot of things is because they're trying to get it right in a strategic manner that makes sense. It's logical. It has fact based behind it. You can check sources, you can check links, you can see video feed, that sort of thing. I think speaking our mind is important. And I think us being able to fully develop that, is important. But I think the fact is, like, the way we do things, Brad, like, we're trying to talk about things and discuss things. This is kind of more important than just having somebody, with like a perfect jawline and, the best looking features try to describe something to you. I think when you watch the mainstream stuff, you're just looking for sex appeal, the sexiest looking guy, the sexiest looking female to tell you something just so you can feel like they might be right. But the fact is
that why California elected Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Exactly. I actually kind of thought it'd be cool to have him there because I thought, oh, if we got the Terminator in California, people would think we're strong because of the movies. It's a very not vague, but shallow. It's a very shallow thing. A lot of
Well,
people jump in.
anytime a politician speaks his mind, he's potentially costing his next election, which is his paycheck.
Exactly.
So it's much safer to go with the majority. And even if the majority is not, okay, so the majority is leaning towards the right. Well, there's also a majority leaning towards the left. So, you go with the majority. What's in right now? Is pro-abortion or pro-choice in right now? I'm going to go with pro-choice because people want to, have their choice, and that's what we're all about right now, choices. So it doesn't matter what the politician genuinely believes. And when they start having all these lies of who they are, they can say less and less about anything. And they get coached on how to answer questions without revealing any actual, information. And it just becomes a puppet show. And although it's good and although it's entertaining,
stick up their ass and just blah 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 blah, just or a hand up their butt, just doing that sort of stuff.
It just gets to be this level of nothing will ever get accomplished because I'm not a genius in all the politicians we have in office, but it just seems to me like they keep their mouth shut and they go. It seems like it's like the Roman Caesar time where everybody's more along the lines plotting behind each other than they are really working together.
Oh gosh, dude, I think the fact is the true fact is like when Snake Plissken said in the movie, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think it's very true. I think half of that stuff is never fully changed. And I think most of the time what we have running our country a lot of times, there's just a lot of sociopaths in there that have made it to the top because they want to control things. They don't really care if things get better because the fact is divide and conquer is a great strategy. It creates more money because people will buy one thing or another. They won't just buy the main thing. They'll buy into both sides. So they fight each other. They try to find because the fact is like us as humans, and I know this could be debatable, but I think I'm pretty sure. I think ultimately we want to find our counterpart and we want to solve everything and make everything work right. The fact is, a lot of people talk about communism is like I think it was a Seinfeld show. Like communism is like the best thing. The only problem is it doesn't work, and I think it's kind of true, in a sense, because we want to come together. We want to be connected. We want to be a part of something. We want to grow, but we don't want conflict. We want to see things work right. But there's a lot of people that are at the higher at the top, and they go out of their way to screw everything up so that they can create the kind of conflict between people so that people don't actually come together. The fact is, like, if both parties would just like put their stuff down for a second and go, well, this kind of makes some sense. And I'm not totally against, with all this, but I'll go with this idea a little bit here and there. And then they kind of jump ship to some side.
But
It, you
I've
know,
I've always questioned, they should make like the buddy system, where
a
the
wingman
most
system.
the most right candidate has to spend time with the most left candidate, and everything in between. They have to work together on. You just get forced.
That's
Basically,
not
you
a
hand-
bad
you
idea.
handcuff them together, and until they learn to, you
Work
know,
together.
because
Like
eventually you can start to see each other's, BS, and start to, you're saying this happens, but I've spent like 2 months with you and I haven't seen this at all.
it's kind
And
of like a marriage in a way. They're kind
yeah,
of married
well,
to their.
exactly. Yeah, you basically force these people, and that's, you can say, oh, well, that's completely unethical, and it probably is, but that's, well, as the way Trump said about when we elect our politicians, we're not electing our best, and that's the
The
bottom
funniest
line.
thing is he's not wrong, but he's also indicating himself in that
Well, he
perspective.
never said
Because
that. I'm referring to the whole.
I'm just saying, like a lot of times when you talk about stuff, you're reflecting. You're not just saying something about the other person. You're actually reflecting a bit of who you are. When you say that. Um, but I think it's kind of true. Like you need to. I think a buddy system would be amazing if it actually could work. It'd be kind of amazing because then both parties would like put certain things down because like there's certain things like abortion, that is like a big political thing. And although that shouldn't even be a political thing, what that should technically be is a corporation run thing. Corporations
Like,
should run that, not the state, not the government. People shouldn't have to elect somebody based upon their belief systems.
yeah,
Religions,
it shouldn't even
if
be
it's a belief
exactly.
system, it's a religion, it should be out of the state completely. So
Well, I
if it's out
think
of the state, and if a corporation can run it and a corporation can do it, go to that corporation and give them the money to fund that and make that work. So that is out of state, out of mind, and then you're just voting for politics, not religion. Because technically, a lot of people are voting religion because of that. They don't want
Yeah.
you to kill your child. Other
Well,
people
I think
don't
the
believe it's
the
a child
law.
until a certain point. So if
I don't know
so
if it's
if
a state law. Is
you
is
know
abortion through state or is it through federal? I'm not even positive, but I think the majority of the law is if it's done within the first trimester, it's okay, and that's 3 months. I think
But
that's
then,
pretty
but I'm
reasonable,
just trying to
honestly.
say, like, it becomes debatable for a lot of people. So if you just made it a corporation thing, then you go to that corporation for that particular thing. You don't have to go to the state for that
Well,
because the corporation will fund that for you.
I look at the idea of this is my opinion. You look at the idea of pro-life and pro-choice, and I honestly think when it comes down to it, you almost have to be pro-choice because it's, again, it is a person's choice. You can't force it, or else you're becoming, I don't even know the word, but again, I think that you have to have regulations. That's why I was
Well,
saying,
yeah, people are
the
going to go and do it in a legal sense
the first
if
trimester
you
is a
force
very
that.
good regulation to the whole idea. If you get pregnant, you have 3 months to find out and 3 months to take care of it. If it's after 3 months, it should be strictly illegal. If you waited that long, chances are you should probably give your kid up for adoption or something anyway, because if you
Yeah,
wanted to get an abortion after 3 months and you were that negligent to not realize it, well, there's something going on. So,
yeah, and
but
that's where parents or The father and family should be heavily involved. If the father just wasn't there, the woman doesn't want to connect with the father, and they need to get help from a group, their family, or something, to figure that out. But you're right, it's negligence at a certain point if a woman just doesn't care. Um, but I
Yeah.
think
I'm gonna
I
get
think
that
it should be
abortion next
corporation.
week. Oh, I got. It's like getting an oil change and waiting and waiting and waiting. Ah, I can go another week
Exactly, your
without getting
engine's
this
going to
abortion.
seize up, and you're not going to be able to drive it.
The reality is you were just smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and hoping that the problem would take care of itself. But dang it, that baby's a survivor.
Yes, exactly. You're hoping the problem will take care of itself. That's just pure stupidity. That's just blatant pure stupidity. That's all that is. That's not the fault of humanity. That's the fault of a few individuals, that get into that. But I'm just saying, like something like that. If you were to argue for that, it should be run by a corporation that could help with abortions. That's independent, funded by people, not funded by the government, and it takes away the ability to push certain people to vote a particular party because of a religious belief. If you put it into the hands of the people, like what you're saying of the democracy part, this would become a democratic thing. People would vote for this corporation to be a really good one, give them some money, fund it, and then they would, in turn, support the abortion part, and then people would go to that corporation to get the abortion that they wanted if that's what they wanted. So people wouldn't feel alienated and they wouldn't feel like they have to vote a particular way. And the fact is, because there's a lot of Republicans that vote Republican because of the abortion thing. It's a very serious thing. They vote Republican because of the abortion thing and only because of the abortion thing. It would literally change a lot of people's perspectives if that was pushed into a different category or, group. So, I mean, as far as like me talking about what I think, as far as society goes, it makes a lot of sense. You know, put that into the hands of people that want to support that, not into the government and forcing the government to do something that other people. Because the fact is, we separated church and state.
Does the
But if
government
there is,
even do anything about it? Has there been any recent laws on abortion at all? I mean,
I
I don't
haven't
even
been
know.
checking it, but I'm just saying in a general sense. Like I
I'm just
haven't checked. I,
curious.
I haven't been on top of that checking. I'm just
I hope
like
somebody
we
can
got into
comment and
this.
tell me. Well, the last time we've done any law on abortion was, because I don't trust Google. So you Google something, you're going to get two answers every time
I know, and
at
half the
minimum.
time you're going to get the most popular one every single page you look through. It's like
Right.
I've already seen this like 5 times. Can you show me something different? You
Yeah. When
know,
somebody says Google it, that's really just like, well,
misnomer.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I've heard people, tell me that too, and I'm like clicking through the pages. The next page has like the three of the same things already clicked on. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I know you're trying to move to the popular thing, but don't try to override the popular thing over and over and over again. Show me like different things so I can see more of what's out there. Because otherwise, it looks like there's only like
Well,
10 things that ever exist in the entire world on Google.
I mean, Google's supposedly like tailored towards what people want. They have all those what's the word? I can't even think algorithms. They have all these algorithms, to kind of guide people what they think that they want. But
Suggested influence
it seems like
is what
on
you mean
mine,
when you say
yeah,
algorithms, right?
Wikipedia is the number one, you know,
And they
choice
even want
always
your
on
money
my
if you
list.
get. Did you notice that? You go on Wikipedia and they ask you to donate at least like $3 or something like that a day.
It wouldn't surprise me, and that's all just BS. Everybody wants their money now. I mean, anything. My PlayStation subscription ran out. They want my money, so I can't even play online games anymore.
You gotta
That's
you gotta give
completely
them
off
money they
topic.
want. You gotta give them what they want. But
Well,
that's half the thing. That's part of what our country's run by. The whole Republican side is what our country was kind of based upon. Is uh, how well you do in society depends upon how much income you make and how you can grow.
oh, that's a whole nother point. When people talk about the minimum wage is too small to live, that annoys me. That really bothers me when people say that.
To live
Yeah,
wealthy, Yes.
to live with a cell phone and cable and air conditioning, but to live, no, no, you can do it. You can definitely live on minimum wage
Dude,
very,
I know what you're
easily.
saying. I found a way to survive on very minimal income at certain points in my life, and I got by. It
You
wasn't
know,
easy, but I got by.
I mean, you have to get used to eating more spaghetti and rice, but
Ramen is a
ramen,
mainstay half the time.
absolutely. Ramen, eggs are cheap. You don't have as much bacon with your eggs. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it goes. But it does bother me that people, it's not even live wealthy, but it's live the way other people in this country are living, and that,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
the thing is, people. Here's the thing. Like what you're talking about. A lot of people want to come here because I think there's going to be freedom. The fact is, you're only free when you're working more. You only have when you have more money and you work more and you do more, or you're more successful. Then you can be more. You can go places more. You can show off your cash. That's what this country is based upon: is how much wealth you can acquire by how much work you can put in and how much success you can make. It's not just you come over here and you're instantly successful. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of
well, you
people
can
have
be.
this
You can be though. I mean,
ideology that they'll just come over here and they'll immediately be a freaking star. And I don't think that I think people get the wrong impression. We're here. This country is not a communistic country, although people want to try to make it like that. It is not a communist country. It's based upon your own personal worth and the value you contribute to the United States of America and how much you can do.
I can agree though that I do think there are a lot of jobs that are very important in our economy that don't get paid a realistic amount.
And you're
While
right. You're not
and
wrong.
that, but I think that's a whole nother topic that I was going to mention another day, is about big businesses. And I mean, that can go on, and obviously it'll merge in with what we're talking about now. But I was leaning away from it because I'd like to make that a whole separate video on big businesses and corporations and how they treat people. Uh, but
We could talk about the movie The Other Guys. The very ending of the movie shows exactly what happens. You know,
I still
top
wish that they would have made
3%.
the regular guys. I would have loved to see Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock play a movie.
Yeah, they had the regular guys.
I,
It'd
I
be
would
freaking
have
awesome.
loved it, and it's a bummer. It's probably never going to happen. Samuel Jackson's getting older.
They're too old
I
to
mean,
do it. They'd have to
you
be
can you
younger.
can put as much makeup as you can on, but I don't want him breaking a hip just to try to jump off buildings that are in
You can
actuality
you can
only
put
three
all
feet.
you can put all the makeup you want on a pig, but you'll never want to kiss it.
Yeah. What was it? Black Mirror. Ever see Black Mirror? You ever see the TV show Black Mirror?
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Yeah.
Remember the first episode where they're like, the queen's been captured, and they want you to have sex with this pig to release him, and he's like, "What? You can't be serious." And they're
No,
like,
but he told me he's like, you know what? To make it real authentic, I mean, just go deep into it. Just
"Yeah."
really, really enjoy it, and
They're
just
like, they're like, they're like, the trending is actually that they think you need to do it. If you don't do it, you're actually not being very supportive to everything. He's like, "What?"
I could actually see this happening in the future.
I hope
like,
not. Don't
I
don't be
think it
careful
could
what you
possibly
say.
happen.
That could
We're gonna
cause
see a
people to.
president fuck a pig.
That's very suggestive. That's
We're gonna, we're
well, not
probably
not the president. It would be Pence. Pence would have to do it if Trump ever got. That would be
which probably would happen. Pence might end up having to do
yeah.
that the way
Finds
he
out that
is.
Pence actually kidnapped Trump himself just so we got the excuse to do this.
He got the excuse.
He's never mind.
That's just terrible, man. You wanted an excuse.
Yeah, I think we just need to learn to be more tolerable to each other, but at the same time, hold your ground. Hold your opinion and have your opinion, but don't necessarily vocalize it in a way that is just disrupting or suggestive, because it's true. Like you said, saying things like kill yourself is directly suggestive, but at the same time, you know, saying things repeatedly, even if they're very, brash, but not, you know, malicious, but you repeatedly hear it, it's actually, you know, it's also detrimental. And the fact is, with all the internet out there, it doesn't take long for someone to hear something repeatedly. When you hear 600 some different people say, oh, that's really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Your opinion now, you now believe your opinion. 600 people might have said it, but maybe a million people actually agree with you. Not necessarily that you're right, but you probably shouldn't have made a video in the first place, whatever it is you're talking about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
except for us, we're allowed to make the video about what we're talking about.
Oh,
That's
definitely, yeah.
perfectly fine.
We can go on all night if you want.
Um, well,
This is a pretty broad topic. We could go on for quite some time, you know.
I'm getting a little bit tired. My wife's gonna be home soon. She's probably gonna yell at me because I smoke like 3 pipes down here. But
Huh.
um, yeah, I mean, it's something we can even come back to, and address in the future again. Pretty much just repeat everything we're saying, because I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I don't think people are going to suddenly start becoming more tolerable. And I guess it's just, if I could say something to everybody, who is just everybody, I guess it'd be, be a little bit more tolerable to other people's opinions. And down the line, that's why we have a democracy, because you can vote for what you believe in. And when the majority of people believe in something, that's what's going to win. And, I think that we really should be more supportive to our current president and give him the chance. And if it doesn't work, well, hey, you just elect the other side and learn from your mistakes. I mean, if Trump is saying he wants to have an immigration ban, from these certain countries, we should support it. And after 2 years, if we find that this is not a good thing, well, we just lift it, and
That's a
I
part of
mean,
the problem, though. I mean, it sounds like a solution, but it's part of the problem. Like, even with Obama, he wanted the Obamacare thing. And as soon as Trump got in, he just like, nope, done. It's out.
yeah,
You know, we're changing the whole thing. He just destroyed the whole entire thing. The fact is, like, people said the site didn't work or whatever happened, but the problem was nobody ever said it was good. Like, I don't remember anybody saying any of that was even good. Most people would say it's just going to raise everybody's premiums. And I've seen premiums for other people raising because that was going to go into place or because it was in place, you know? And the fact is, like, I don't have to worry about that, because of military. But the fact is, other people do.
well, who
So
knows? Honestly, who knows though? Again, that goes into big business. Who knows if
is it
Obamacare
just
raised the
corporations
premiums,
just
or
getting
if
bitchy about it?
corporation, well,
Or
no,
just
corporations found a way to make more money, and they used Obamacare as an excuse.
so they use an excuse to raise their premiums and then
It's a possibility. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong if you have way, way more
I don't have all
information
the
on it,
data on
but
that would be insane for me
but
to research, but
but I mean, why not? When you can create an excuse to create more money, why not? I mean, it's like with the gas going up. Did the gas prices really get more expensive because we had to pay more for it, or was the war just an excuse for gas prices for people selling gas to make more money? You know
I
what I
think
mean?
half of it's sort of scare tactics, if you like when they said when Obama got in, things were just going to be bad and go down. Stock markets dropped. I was in a job, I was in a drafting job at the time, and my boss told me that because He was going to have a project with somebody. The other person pulled out because Obama got into office, and I lost my job with drafting because of that. So you could say, I'm going to be super pissed off at Obama because of that, but the fact is, it just happened the way it happened. I could be pissed off at Obama because of that, but the fact is, like, this guy just decided he didn't think that there was going to be a lot of job opportunities because Obama was in, pulled out. He was afraid. And because of his fear, I lost work opportunities.
I've uh I've oftentimes said before that I think that that's something that should be protected under your political belief. I mean, you have gender, you have sexual orientation, you have age. Um, I don't remember what all the other ones are. Quote them. But I think that your political belief should also be protected. I mean, you get into technicalities of like, well, you're not gonna be a Republican working for the Democratic Party, but at the same, I'm talking, in general, you shouldn't be able to, oh, I voted for Trump, and then some Democratic boss is like, you're fired.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that that is really, really a corrupt thing, and I think that that should be something that's tacked on to the list of things that a employer can't discriminate against. But as of now, it's not on that list, and I'm not sure what the reasoning for it not being on the list is, but I'm pretty sure that there are people who have been fired based on their political belief, and that's messed up because that's their family, and just because they have a different opinion, it's not like it's one person. It's not like it's somebody who's like, oh, I agree with the Nazi party. I mean, it's literally 30 million people on one side and 30 million people or so on the other side. It's every election is closer and closer. They're they're pretty, split down the middle in the way that we all genuinely think, provided it's mostly California and New York versus the rest of the country. But, it's a strong matter on both sides. And I think it's pretty messed up just because you have a different political opinion to take somebody's job away from them. And I'm sure that this has happened. I'm not recording it anymore, but I'm sure that it's happened.
Hmm.
That was weird. My mouse. Oh, that was your mouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's my mouse. Your video feed is
I was like, am I being hacked right now? My mouse is moving on my screen.
your video feed is not coming out right now. I gotta
Ugh,
redo it or something, but
neither are you.
yeah.
You need to get one of those. Please stand by with the puppy dog pulling down a little kid's pants or something like that.
God. Jeez, dude. All right. Well, I'll just put you down for a bit here, but
Put me down.
yeah, I'm gonna put you down. Sorry.
Bad
Okay.
term when I just said puppy dog. It just really creates an image that I didn't want to think about.
Once you
Like
start
you,
appearing
you caught
again,
me in a really pondering look right here. Like really thinking about what I'm gonna say next there.
yeah, there. It looks better now. I'll just leave it like that till things change.
I'm on a delay, so I'm actually still. It's gonna take me a couple of seconds before I just randomly. I'm gonna get back into position.
Get back in the
Oh wait,
position.
oh wait, I was already moving, so that's actually
What
not
kind of
gonna.
position is that?
Wouldn't you like to know? Um, since we're so off topic here, I want to also, since this is the first episode, if anybody actually, continues listening after the 117 minutes, I want to bring up some other ideas that we want to talk. I think we also, we wanted to get us. This isn't, a show solely based on, you know, political and attacking people for their opinions and all that. I think, we also want to talk about, aliens and ancient technology and
Let's talk about aliens. All kinds of aliens. The real and the fantastical and all kinds of stuff, apparently.
the pyramids are a fascinating thing. But we'll say that for another episode. And
Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty good.
I think that's the only other thing I wanted to talk about. So this might only be like 3 episodes. Big business, speaking your mind, and aliens.
Hmm.
It's we can talk about, what else I like to talk about sometime is like people who what is I don't want to say famous people, but
Yeah, you're starting to move around. It's coming back. Internet
as
connection's starting to work again.
actors and actresses that are stating
Actually,
their
aliens?
political beliefs. Oh well, I don't want to give away everything I believe in one day.
I kind of wonder if the third rock from the sun guy that was in Dexter, he was an alien. Because I don't know, a little weird, you know? Remember him, Trinity Killer?
Oh yeah, I remember him. He's a good actor. He's pretty funny.
He was great in the movie, in the series too. I never really watched Third Rock from the Sun. I never
I
really liked the
occasionally,
what?
I occasionally watched it.
I just didn't. I don't know why. I mean, he's a good actor there,
Well,
but like,
it's like Coneheads Undercover or something. It's a bit of a played out premise in my mind.
hmm,
I think that might be, which is another thing. There's that's a whole nother topic is how the media outlets, because of all the algorithms being created, how the media outlets have gotten more and more understanding on what they think people want to watch. But because people are now getting to watch everything that they want to watch, they're getting bored of this faster,
hmm.
and we're creating we're not sure what people want anymore because we've already you said you're rewatching Dexter. Why? Because Dexter was a really good show. In the comedic idea of a serial killer. It's a funny show. It's a good and funny show. You know what else is a good funny show? Breaking Bad. I almost debated on watching that one again
You
because
know, I
that was
never actually watched it. I don't know if I'd like it.
really, oh man, I love that. That was a great TV show.
Well,
But
maybe I should.
you understand what I'm trying to say? Like Netflix is producing all these originals, and you know how it goes. They're not going to produce any originals that they don't think are going to be what people want to watch. They want to make sure that people are going to watch what they're
And it's sort of the same thing. Like if you're kind of guy that's a bologna sandwich kind of guy, you're just gonna want to have bologna sandwiches all your life. It doesn't matter, whether you have many other options. You got used to something and you want it. Occasionally you might change every once in a while, but you're always gonna come back to that bologna sandwich. So when it comes to TV shows, you're gonna want to come back to the same thing. Why do you think cop shows are so prevalent for the longest time? SVU, Law and Order, that sort of thing. It just lasted for so freaking long because people just want to have the same thing they've had for the longest time because it's comfortable. You know, it's just comfortable. That's the way it goes. And it's not
I
like a anti-human thing or anti. It's not a negative thing. It's just that's what people just turn towards. Like when I watch shows like Dexter, I watch shows like Daredevil or something like that. I like to see a guy go out, be the vigilante, and make things right. It's a slightly different package every time I watch it. There's Punisher, or Daredevil, or Dexter, or something like that, but they're getting the job done. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and it,
Superheroes is a great theme of shows, but we don't create new superheroes that often. We seem to redo the same ones over and over again until they make enough money, and then Disney buys them,
and then it
and
gets
then
all messed up
and
because
then and then
everybody
it gets
hates it
all
when
messed
Disney
up.
buys them. Like
Yeah,
Star Wars series, everybody was pissed off about because the fact is, as soon as they bought them, they made the next Star Wars movie almost exactly like all the first three, all just mashed into one.
that comes into the idea though. Is that just people with nostalgia disappointed because it's not going where they wanted it to go, or is that really that it sucked?
Movies are different than TV series because movies you want to try to make something better, but usually the first movie you make seems to be the best, and then trying to do the second one, you kind of have to jump off on a different plot point, and it seems strange to most people that love the original. And then in the third movie, they try to jump back to the original plot point of the first. They make it somewhat similar to the first. Like even look at the Crow movie. Look at the Crow. First movie, very original, very independent. Second one, a little bit off course, a little more artistic. Third one almost goes back to the same exact core concept as the first one. You
Did
know,
you say a little more what?
artistic.
Oh, artistic. Okay. Just making sure.
Well, I don't
I'm
know what you were
sorry.
thinking, but that's what I said.
I thought you said autistic, honestly. I was like, geez, dude. It's
Come on,
well, it's
Brad.
like
Don't fuck with me
what
like that.
what would happen if they made another Die Hard with a Vengeance, but they didn't have Bruce Willis or Die Hard? I can't say with a Vengeance because it's a movie. They made another Die Hard, but didn't
Then it
have
would be
Bruce
like a
Willis.
GI Joe knockoff. People would be like, "Well, it's cool, but it's you know."
Or like a James Bond type thing where you just keep going.
Well, that's basically Mission Impossible. Blah. Mission
Impossible.
Impossible. I can't even say it. I can't speak right now.
Mission Impossible.
Mission it's Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
did not enjoy anything other than the first Mission Impossible.
that's what
I
everybody
thought,
liked. But like, if you watch the final one with the apostles that I just saw, it goes all the way back to the original because they were like, you know what, we jumped so far off our roots.
well, that's what they do
We
because
didn't use the whole
they
group
realize
the
where the
way that
money
they were
is.
supposed to be, and now we're going to go back to the original. So Mission Impossible, um,
Am I not moving again, honestly? Like you just have this picture of me smiling.
I know you're not. I don't know what to
It's
do to
fine.
make it better. I
It's
mean,
fine.
sometimes it changed, but you're just like stuck there.
I'm just stuck. At least I look good. At least I
It
think
looks fine. I'm just gonna leave it. If it looks, if it looks like you're giving the finger or sticking your tongue out, then I'll turn it off. But so far, it looks pretty good. I'll leave it.
I look happy. That's a good sign.
At least you'll be imprinted with happiness for the rest of your life on this one particular episode.
My eyes really are really squinty all the time like that. It's funny.
hmm
It's just the way that I laugh and smile.
Well, now you have a good permanent picture you can save the rest of your life on a podcast.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's better than the ones that I thought they would have of me.
They took your good side right here. I didn't do anything. Just happened that way. Just paused it and it's still permanently stuck. I don't know how to change it. Let me
Well,
close this.
The Disney thing is again more along the big businesses category. So,
Yeah.
I think we pretty much played out everything we can play about the topic of people speaking their mind and having tolerance and also just accepting people's differences. Again, though, to reiterate, I think that we do need to have a law, and I think that people need to accept the law, and if they don't agree with it, they need to take the proper channels to try to get it changed. And, there's very few things in our country that's really set in stone. It's mostly just paper. So
hmm
we need to,
Well,
we
the
need
thing
to,
is, in the past, like we would literally, make it a sort of debatable thing. We would really talk about something before we made a final vote on it. But the way things are, unless you're on a particular side, you can't say like. I just don't see like there's not everything on one side or another that I fully agree with. It's almost like you want to be independent, but then there's so many millions of different independent groups that jump out there. It just it turns into a popularity scale.
yep.
There's certain things like we talked about the abortion thing. That's very personal and very private and very particular for certain situations. It's not something that's like all the time. It's maybe some people it
Well,
depends, but it's not
which is why
something
I
that
kind of thought maybe a judge should be able to vote on it sometimes. You can't have it every time, but If it's after that first trimester, I think that it should be in the hands of a judge being able to allow it or not
Hmm.
due to situations. Of course, judges are already overwhelmed, so
Yeah.
with their golf games.
Yeah, it's true. What are you a judge to? Is that it?
I don't really know if judges are overwhelmed or not. I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Now you're trying to backtrack on me. I know what's going on.
And I think that's the other thing too. When you don't walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you really shouldn't speak a mile long sentence about what they do. Like police officers, we already mentioned that, but it's like same thing with like lawyers and all that, saying lawyers are all crooked thieves. But, if you're not a lawyer, maybe you've been duped by a lawyer before, so you can make your opinion that way. But it's that's like another subject. People just want to criticize everybody and everything.
Well, like you said, we're trying to help, but half the time people don't understand what the word help means, so they feel they should hurt. And
Yeah, yeah, help with the spanking.
yeah,
And that's the thing. People spank their kids, not other adults, so you should be understanding that when
you
you're
should be
communicating.
spanking adults, not kids, because, you
Yeah.
know, then people would get the point. Kids don't understand, but, when you're adults, you kind of understand a little more. But I don't know. That could be risky to talk about, too. It's like, well,
That's a great other topic.
should we spank
Well,
adults more than
no,
kids?
no, I was going to bring up, and it's funny because I was going to bring up the show What Would You Do as an example of like these things where they put people in situations that aren't real. They might have somewhat happened, but What Would You Do always likes to push it a little bit further than what actually happened. And I think that gets very, very technical because that's not what actually happened. And now you're like creating people to see, my gosh, are people really doing this? Like, then there was an episode where a woman was using a spray bottle to discipline her kids. And immediately when my wife and I saw it, we thought, well, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just water. You know what I mean?
Is she
But
shooting it up the person's nose?
no,
Because
the
that
kid
could
would,
that could drown.
no.
Like,
When the kid misbehaved, she sprayed the kid with water. It was on the stream setting, not the mist setting.
okay,
So
well then
the
what? What's wrong with that? Like you spray them on the chest or something? I mean, that's
so
it's
so
uncomfortable. You're
all right.
wet,
So
but
me and my wife were all like, "Oh, not that we're necessarily
I think
gonna
you should use
use that."
words more than a physical action if you can. Like a
Right.
timeout works really well,
I think a
but
timeout does work pretty well. And we were like, it's just water. Like, but the problem with it was that when the one person was like having a problem with it, she just incessantly kept spraying her kids. Her kids weren't even doing anything wrong anymore. She's like, you just give them a little squirt and squirt it. She's like, what's wrong? It's just water if you squirt them in the
she
face.
got obsessed with squirting them with water.
And I'm
It's like
thinking, like, what you saw was a woman who disciplined her kids using a water bottle. What you did was spray your kid with water incessantly, even when they weren't doing anything wrong anymore. So, like, I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with disciplining your kid with a water bottle. But when your kid's now behaving, stop spraying them with water. I mean, that's that's a bit of an abuse. Like,
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if we had and I just want to say like if we finally became sort of a perfect system where we didn't need a police force, we didn't need the military for what they could do, they'd have to find a way to change or they have to find a way to create a problem for it to continue. And that's what you're saying like she still needed to spray even though she didn't need to spray. She just felt the need to spray because she got so used to it. She didn't know how to adapt and change to the new environment that it
well,
was. Like
the
she
other I was gonna say the other thing that was annoyance was the kid kept saying it hurts and like really really upsetting, and I'm thinking like, no, it doesn't. Getting sprayed in the water doesn't hurt. You have super soakers that are more powerful than that little dollar
maybe
store.
emotionally, it could hurt after a certain point because it's like the kid might have realized that he did it and he was disobedient purposely, And because of that, he understood the pain or the feeling of it, the sensation. It just didn't feel comfortable. But then as soon as, everything was fine, he didn't need to have it anymore. It hurt because he realized he did everything he needed to do to be good, but then it still came to him. And it's like, why? It's like mentally an emotional kind of response. Like, why is this still happening? Like, it just shouldn't happen. There was a reason for this, but now there's just no reason. And
Well, it
like
was
you're
funny.
saying, like she didn't have a full reason to do it. She just felt she wanted to do it, and it was a natural thing for her to continuously do, and she didn't stop.
There was another episode where these two people came in. This is my favorite episode by far. There's these two people that came in, um, and they were speaking. They were of Spanish descent, and they were speaking Spanish to the waitress. And the waitress was just being fairly rude towards the people. She's like, "You need to speak English." And I thought, okay, this is like a bit wrong on both ends. And people are like, no, people are, no, no, if that Spanish is their native language and Spanish is okay in the United States, you know. But the reason I like this episode is because there was this old white guy, bald old white guy, out of nowhere that he's like, she said she wanted some water with ice, and like, it just, you would have thought if you would have seen this guy,
It
you would
took
have been
that
like, well,
long of a
there's
conversation for the guy to just jump in there and say that.
no, 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 because she's like agua con. I don't know how to say ice. I always forget actually. I know snows nieves, but I forget ice. And she's like, and the woman's like, what? What do you want? She's like, speak English. And the guy's just at another table, patiently with his hands folded, and he's like, she says she wants water with ice. And I was just like, dude, who is this guy? What reason does he? I mean, he's an
How can you
old
not
six.
understand aqua or
Yeah, I
agua?
know. But
I mean,
she's like, he's like a 65-year-old man
it's
that
that is like I don't even know Spanish hardly at all, and I know that.
yeah. Well, how could you not understand hamburguesa? You know, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you couldn't understand a hamburger for hamburguesa, but the
That sounds
bottom,
like hamburger. The
yeah.
fact is, most languages will have very similar sounding words for their particular language because they all started
So,
together at some point.
so here's the reason why it got back and forth on me. One, I think that if you come to this country, you should probably try to learn a few phrases or a few words to help better understand things. But
Well, yeah,
here's
I'll make it let no. Here's the thing: like a lot of people will talk like I'll see on people's profiles and things like that. I want to go see the world. I want to go around the country, and I'm like, you do? Are you sure? Do you want to learn their language, or you just want to go there and have somebody translate everything for you? Because the fact is, you go there, you
well,
can't trust if someone's just going to be there to translate all the freaking language for you.
and
You
that
have
was
to
my
learn the language
look,
when you're
and that was
going
my whole
there.
point. And that was my whole point. Wait, here's the catch on it. Those people could just be on vacation. It's not necessarily that she's like these immigrants come over here and this is like okay, they they could very well just be on vacation. I mean, I went to Spain, and when I was in Spain, I tried to order in Spanish, but at the same time, I just pointed at what I wanted, so there was no confusion. Because that was the other thing. If you're not going to speak the language, I mean, I get it. Spanish is a secondary language, so I'm not just. You, if you're not going to speak the language that the waitress understood, just point to what you want. Just point to the picture. I mean, this is how it works.
I
You
know.
point,
I did that somewhat in Germany when I went there too. I learned a little bit of German. I still have to practice it. Like I'd like to have more people to talk to practice it because I think for me I'd have to sort of immerse myself more. And when I was there, I kind of immersed myself to some degree. I was able to talk a little more about it. But when I was in a restaurant, I would just literally point at what I thought. If I couldn't say it correctly, because I'm a stickler for trying to say it correctly. If I couldn't say it correctly, I'd point to the picture and be like, and run my hand across it like this is specifically the thing that I want, you know, and
now,
They'd be like,
I
yeah.
got
I'm like, yeah, yeah,
I gotta tell you,
and then they would understand and they'd go with it. So if I was in some rural areas, I would do that just so I could get my point across. Because the fact is, if you're moving to a different area and you just think everybody's going to accept me when I go there, that's not always the case. Now, Germany is a little bit different because English is a second language. There's even a lot of Japanese people that go over to Germany too, and they will also speak English and they'll speak Dutch. But the fact is, like, you go to a different country, expect to learn some of their language so that you can immerse yourself, because you can't just go to a different country and expect them to say exactly what
and
you're saying. It's a
not just
very
immerse,
stupid philosophy to just move
embrace
to a
the
different
fact.
country and just say, "Oh, they'll just speak my language because I am me." No, you are a small piece of the pie. You you are not a
So
part of that country. You are an outsider.
there
You
was
know.
one lady though that clearly said a racist comment afterwards, right? Because they were trying to get other people's reactions. Dude, this old white lady goes, "Oh, just ask the busboy." I'm like, my gosh, that is like you didn't even see if the busboy was Spanish or not, but she just automatically assumes that the busboy's got to be the Spanish one in the group. So I was like, come on, like I thought that was horrible. That's horrible. But yeah, I mean, I watch these shows, what would you do? And honestly, it's really, really disturbing because they put people in situations that aren't necessarily true. You know,
And
I mean,
I think that's sort of a thing for Americans, and I don't want to make them feel bad, but I think that's kind of the point. Like other people from other cultures will learn an extra language or a few extra languages, particularly so that they can go around and see other cultures, because they realize when you go to a different country, you have to try to speak their language because they're not necessarily all going to understand yours. But in America, people just want to come here, so not everybody wants to go outside. So most people don't understand that we have to try to understand their language when we go there. Most people just here, they want to just go see another country and they just think instantaneously everybody knows English just because
when I go to Dominican Republic,
we have such a
like
diverse group of people
every
here.
other year, it's funny how many Dominicans will try to speak English to me. Just like, did I say that right? Like, I understood you.
Yeah, but
And
they'll
then and then they say,
like
"Que hace,
they'll
comprende?"
understand you and you understand them, but you can't really make a bunch of jokes with them. You can't get too involved with them because they don't understand the inflection or the way of your sarcasm, or they
Right.
don't
I
understand
no, a
the
hundred
kind of
percent agree. I 100% agree.
you
And
know.
I think that I personally have said this. We should stop calling our language English. We should just start calling it American because
I
I
know
mean,
because I can't understand English people for the fucking life of me. Half the time they're talking English and it doesn't even sound like English because they're using
well,
a
it does
F
sound
instead
like
of a
English.
T.
It
You
does
know
sound
that
like English. That's the thing. It
it doesn't
sounds it
it
sounds
doesn't
like English. It
sound
doesn't
like
sound
it's not
American English.
grammatically correct from what I've learned. It just sounds like they're adding extra they're adding extra consonants there that don't exist.
Well,
You know?
they're enunciating
Yes,
actually.
exactly. Not enunciating correctly. And being Midwesterner, like we take the East and the West, we try to
Oh,
make
I,
it
I
perfect.
I taught this to my wife. I said, the trick is when you say something, you want to say it all in one word. That there's not really a space in between. It's like Spanish has a good idea of having most words end in a vowel, for masculinity or feminine. How's that going to work if they ever get into the gender thing? I don't know. You can have gender fluid words.
You know what? That's the funniest thing because of conjugating words. There's masculine, feminine, and neutral. Are you gonna add more to that because you want to appease the LGBTQ? I mean, how do you do that? It doesn't make any sense. I've taken Latin class in the past, and I had a problem conjugating because I never remembered which one was masculine or feminine or neutral. Most of the time I screwed up because I couldn't figure out if it was masculine or neutral or feminine or neutral. Neutral was kind of like the killer for me. I screwed up a lot with that. But
I butcher every other language I try to say, honestly. I can say the word well enough that they say they understand, but that's about as far as it gets. I don't understand any past tense, any present tense, any future tense, and half the time I don't even say the right word correctly. So,
and I have people that comment on my Brigandine videos that are from either Brazil or they're from the Philippines or some, from other places, and they'll do that too. They'll mix up the past, the present, and the future tense as far as what they're saying. I understand what they're saying because I can put it together. I was actually very good at grammar when I was younger, but I can understand, like, okay, well, they're trying to probably say this, and it kind of sounds like it's making sense. I can put it together, but it's still completely wrong. Like if somebody else tried to interpret it, interpret what they're saying, they would just get it. They would mix it up really badly. It would not. It wouldn't work, you know. But yeah, that's the thing. When you go to other cultures and you have to like interpret the past, present tense of the particular word, where here we just have a sentence. We don't have masculine, neutral, and feminine. It's a lot easier. But when you naturally speak English, trying to learn other languages is like a whole other complex situation because you're adding extra stuff to it than you don't when
well, it's
you
like
normally don't have to do that.
I love when an English speaking person is trying to say a Spanish word and they just add like an A on the end of it, you know, water.
Yeah.
They don't. It happens a lot more than you think, actually. So,
Yeah, it's true.
you know, I remember when my friend we went to Canada once, and just everything about us going to Canada. I love this. First I tell him, I say, now don't forget, they use kilometers. They use a metric system over here. So, and as soon as we get in there, he says, we got to drive another 230 miles. And I was like, dude, I literally 5 minutes ago just said to you, it's kilometers. And then he said, we got to drive another 115 miles. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, because when you pass through the border, when we passed through the border in New Hampshire, it was so far away from. So anyway, our goal was to go to Montreal. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Montreal. Maybe I don't even remember where our goal was. But here's what he does. He looks at the first sign, and we were supposed to go east, but or no, we were supposed to go west. Excuse me, we were supposed to go west, but he drives east. And the
Dude,
reason,
it's like a Dumb and Dumber scenario right now.
because he
These
says
Rocky Mountains should be a little rockier than this.
we drive. I'm telling you, we
Yeah, that
drive
John
like
Denver's full of shit, man.
we drive over 100 miles in the wrong direction. And he
It's
says,
exactly
and
like
he
the Dumb
says,
and Dumber scenario,
he says, oh,
Brad.
I thought the sign was just broken and it was saying west. And I was like, no, it was saying east. And I was like, it's in French. And he's like, oh, that makes sense when the other thing said norte. I was like, dude. Anyway, we
Dude,
finally
you're
get
telling me the Dumb and Dumber movie.
we finally get
Do you
to
remember that part?
yeah, no, I remember it. I do.
It's exactly like that part.
All right, so we finally get to a bathroom, right? And I guess, yeah, we traveled east. I don't know how we were in such a French speaking place. I think we got to Montreal. Because we went to some casino. I'm not even sure how we got to where I think we must have backtracked because so anyway, we get to this gas station and he goes in and the people are like, "Hello." That was everybody said, "Hello." So he goes up and he goes,
Were you in France at the time?
no, it was a French speaking area of Canada.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and he's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Now these people all speak English and French, you know. So what? And and he says to the person, he goes, "How do you say bathroom in French?" And I swear, with the most like no accent, the woman just looks at him and goes, "Toilet." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Like, it's like
That's a European way of saying it. That's not American.
turns out they actually didn't have an available bathroom, so he just peed out back in their property. They should have had a bathroom, you
Yeah.
know. But and it was a fun vacation, but I we went to a strip club and we went to a casino. He was only 18, so he wasn't allowed to get in the casino. He snuck in anyway, but they kicked him back out. And I spent almost all of our money to get back and lost it all. And it was a really tough time to get back. We were down to like the last penny. Like if we would have hit another toll, we would have been screwed.
Were you
It was
going
a
through
good
New
time.
York?
No, through New Hampshire. We went through New Hampshire.
New Hampshire had that many tolls?
I don't remember all the details of it. I'm just saying if we would have hit another
I
toll, there was
went
a
through New
few tolls.
York and it had a crap load of tolls, unbelievable amount that didn't make any sense. But
Yeah, they love just taking your extra money for no reason
dude, I spent like $16 getting
on
through New
one
York
toll. On one
on
toll,
tolls alone.
yeah.
It was like, are you serious?
Well, we
You
were
know,
almost out of gas and
even
everything.
Illinois doesn't do that. You know, Chicago's got tolls and stuff, but still, I'll spend maybe like $9 at
Oh,
most, which is
it was
still
crazy.
a lot. But
It was crazy. Going into Canada, the Canadian Border Patrol was so friendly with us. They were like, go right ahead, no problem. They searched our car and everything, and 20, 30 minutes later, they're like, you're good, go ahead. Coming back in the United States, however, my friend had a license plate that he found in the garbage, and he just forgot about it. It was in his trunk. Dude, they hassled him about that. You do know where this thing came from? And he's like, no, I found it in the garbage. I forgot it was even back there. They're like, do you know who it belongs to? And he's like, no. They said he went, they go, why are you getting so defensive? He's like, I'm not trying to get defensive.
why are you passive aggressive here, sir?
He's
What's going
so
on?
so we have to confiscate this license plate. You're not allowed to have this license plate. He's like, go ahead. I don't even care about the license plate. I just want to get back in the country.
You can have it. I don't give a crap. Just
So
take it.
listen,
I'll just.
over an hour goes by of them searching our car, top to bottom, everything. They searched. I mean, literally everything. They searched us. They searched the car. Right? They
Well,
let us.
this had to be after 9/11, right?
No, this is before 9/11.
No way.
Yes, we didn't need a passport back then.
No way.
Yeah. So
I
we
went to
get.
Canada. I never got. Well, even coming back, it just
Well, we were
wasn't.
only there for the day, so it was a little bit like, what are they doing going into Canada and coming back out within like 24 hours? But
But that
so
doesn't matter. I mean,
listen to this. We we get we do the whole search, right? And then right when we're ready to leave, he's like, "Have a good one, guys." I say, "Oh my gosh, we never." He said, "I said I never exchanged the money." I said, "I completely forgot to exchange all the Canadian money." So he's like, "Look, go around, tell the Canadian border, you forgot
are
to
you
exchange the
telling
money."
me that you went back after all
He,
that?
yeah, he goes, go through, tell him you forgot to exchange your money, and you go to that. There's like a little store right next to the place. It's like a gas station basically, and all this. So to exchange your money. So we go through. Canada's like, go ahead. They don't search our car, nothing. They just go ahead. We go over, we exchange the money, we come back out. It's shift change on the US Border Patrol. We tell the Border Patrol, like, we just came through, we had exchanged the money, we completely forgot. He's like, go ahead, have a good one. They don't search our car or anything the second time around. Not even the same people. I'm thinking like, dang, we could have smuggled like cartons of cigarettes and all this kind of stuff in, and we would have gotten away with it. But no, you know,
You decided that going earlier was the best option instead of going later.
but we literally went, in and out of the country within like 5 minutes. We circled back through. You know,
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool time. It was a good time. It was a
Oh man, I literally thought about, like, when I went to Ireland this past year, I thought I need to buy Blarney Castle mead because it's the best mead in the world. I mean, I'm sure there's other that are really good, but that's the best I've ever tasted. And I told my friend about it because he didn't want to go through extra customs or anything like that. He didn't want to go to the um, duty free thing to sign up for that and all that stuff. But we could have done it because, like, when you go into Ireland, they've, like, when I was there, and especially if you're an American citizen, and you go in there, you lived here a long time, you've worked here, you're actually a real American citizen. You go into Ireland, you go through two of those. You know how you go through the uh, you go through all the metal detector stuff and all the, you get scanned and all that stuff. You go through that twice here, but as soon as you land in Ireland, you literally just get let out and, like, you're a free range chicken. They got one person you walk by that's custom patrol. They wave to you and you just walk into it. You just walk in Ireland. It's like no big deal. Because you came from America. America and Ireland are very close connected. Um, but when I told my friend about that, like, coming back here, he'd have to claim his duty free stuff. He just decided not to. I almost wish I could have probably done that because as soon as you come back, like, you don't have anybody. Like, you literally go right back to your state. Like, they don't stop you. They don't ask for passport. They don't do anything because, you know, you lived here so long. You're part of the system. Can easily, readily get this stuff. Like this particular wine, because mead is a wine. It is just so good, and they just stopped making it for America. I almost wish I could have got more of it because I had a huge jug of it beforehand, and they used to sell it here pretty readily. But man, you know, I don't know, what is it with certain countries and their affiliations?
Can you? What do you mean exactly?
Like Ireland with America. Like, a lot of people want to say they want to go to Ireland. The fact is, you go to Ireland, you love it. You just love being there because you can go to the pubs. People in the pubs will talk about. Here's one thing I love about Ireland. People in the pubs will talk about political situations without being convulsive and angry with you. Like, if I were a Republican, you were a Democrat, or vice versa, I could talk to you about politics. We might get a little emotional,
Why do
but
I got
we're
to be the
not
Democrat?
but we're not. I'm just saying, we're not going to go at each other's throats. We're not going to say we're not friends anymore. I freaking hate you. I will never acknowledge you. They talk about politics in such a manner that they're open to discussion. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe you're wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like what we've been talking about. Like, you go to a different country, it's a totally different beast. It's a totally different system. It's not like you'd expect. And a lot of people, they come to expect
Is
certain
is
things.
Ireland a democracy?
I'd say Ireland is a little more democratic, but
Or are
they
they like a socialistic democratic? I mean, do they like Norway and all them too? Or I mean,
they're not. I don't know. I
I really don't
wouldn't.
know.
I wouldn't say they're socialistic with the way that they talk, but they're very fluid with the way their conversations go. And most of the stuff comes down to
I
how
meant it
they,
more along the lines of taxes and all that.
but they put everything into a public perspective to be very open about things. And a lot of the times when musical or poetic people would go to their country, if they were somewhat affluential, they would give them a lot of bonuses and things like that for being there. But if you can't make it in their society, they have a very good benefit program, which sort of resembles, like, if you were to last in the military for a certain amount of years, you would get a decent amount of pay. And they actually pay out very well for people with disabilities and things like that too. So they're very open to
Does the Irish military wear like kilts and stuff, or
that Scots, but I don't know if they do.
I thought Irish people all,
No,
you know,
that's all
really,
Scottish.
really, it's
Scots
all.
are with kilts. Irish people are
I mean,
not
I know
kilts.
that. I know Scotland's more the kilt thing, but I always thought Irish people kind of. I guess
That
I don't know anything about Irish, you know?
no, that's all Scottish stuff. Scottish stuff has
The most
sort
I
of
ever
been
learned about Irish was from the movie Titanic, I guess, you know? It's
Irish people are
river
very
dancing. River
open,
dancing, right?
caring, talkative, and understanding of a lot of situations.
My
Irish
neighbor
is
friend went to Ireland. They went to Ireland on their honeymoon. They said they really loved it.
dude. You'd love Ireland if you went. You'd almost probably not want to come back to America because the way Americans are, they're just a lot of Americans are asinine with their ideology. They think everybody else is wrong all the time, and they argue and bitch and moan. And I mean, I like being here, but there's times I almost wish I could move there because it's like it's one of the nicest places to be in. Like you could walk around, talk to people, you could have an argument, and not be so angry with them and not have them be so angry with you. It just like people trying to come together. Like I'm just saying, like there's other cultures, there's other places in the world that are not as extreme as we have become with politics, which you think, well, that's not the only thing here, but it's almost like we've sort of pushed towards that as like the mainstay. The United States is a mainstay of politics as far as Republican, Democrat. That's the only thing we ever think about.
Politics and race, and currently gender. Those like our main 3 points.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'd prefer not to talk about it. I'd prefer to bring something else up. But if you go to some other countries where they're just
Spent over an
not
hour
so.
talking about it.
What?
We spent over an hour talking about it.
Well, yeah, it's true.
It was me though. It was my topic choice. You can pick next week or 2 weeks. I think. Do we say we're doing this bi-weekly?
Yeah, we'll try to do it bi-weekly if we can. I think we'll probably be able to have a chance for it. Because I think in 2 weeks I'll still be here, but then I'll take a break and stuff. But um, I mean, do you want to be done tonight or what?
Well, my wife got home. I'd like to go up and see her before she falls asleep. And I got a few more things to do in my mobile game. Hashtag Summoners War. Put that out
Okay,
there.
well, we're not sponsoring any games right now, but
Not sponsoring. I'm just looking for some people with some good reps.
okay. But yeah, yeah. If you want to quit right now, that's cool.
I didn't mean to cut
So
you off or anything. I know what you're
no,
saying.
no, no. I could talk all night about all kinds of things, but it's cool. So
Um, well, I thought this was a lot of fun. I think we pretty much got our points across on how we felt about people speaking their mind. I'm not sure if it was terribly influential, but it's it was organized, so that's something to be valued. I don't think we've talked for over 2 hours, and we really didn't argue with each other, and we were able to both say our points. And
well, that's why I was really like advocating Ireland a lot because we didn't try to fight each other on things. We just decided to discuss it
I
and
think
talk
that if
about it.
even if you have a conflicting, we didn't really have too many conflicting agreements here, or conflicting opinions here, but I think that if you do have a conflicting opinion, try to think, how can I get my point across without just sounding childish.
Or
And
insane.
yeah, well, it leads that way down the line, yeah. Um,
Childish or
or
insane.
or insulting or berating, or just for popularity and all that, all the above, which we've clearly indicated. So you pretty much said that you want me to control the topics, and I'd love to do something that is a little bit more
I
not.
didn't mean saying that in that extreme sense. I just meant that, if you want to pick topics, go right ahead because there's a
Well,
lot of things that I can talk about and I can run off on, but if you got something that you're really passionate about, I'd like to
oh, I'm passionate about
work.
everything that I experience.
I'm just saying, I'd like to work with you on some things. So I mean, like we don't, we can put things together
Well,
and
are
decide
you
upon it.
interested in doing a topic about? Because I think we can really
I've got some
ramble on
ideas,
about.
and like I'm gonna definitely talk to you about it. But the fact is, like, if you got something you're passionate about right now,
I
yeah.
would love to talk about the ancient technology and not specifically Egyptians, but the pyramids are really
Oh
interesting,
gosh, we could go on for hours with
and
that. Probably
I
like
think
4 hours,
you can
maybe.
get into the whole alien topic. I think that would just be a lot of fun to talk about, and I think that I mean, I have my strong opinions on what I believe, and
Hmm.
I love to get yours. I know most of yours, but I'd love to get it in recording so I can, you know,
Definitely.
once you say something, you said it, and that's it. You can't take it back anymore.
You can't take it back anymore.
You know, I don't care if it's from 30 years ago. I will play that
No, I'll
clip.
take things back. Like here's the thing. Like I research things of the past, and I'll be really hardcore into it for a while, and then after a while, I'll look at it retrospectively and go, you know what, that was kind of messed up. I should probably reel myself back in and like think particularly logically about it because the thing is, after a while, I'll think, well, maybe something wasn't as extreme as I thought it was, and maybe it was more metaphorical in sense. And if you look at it metaphorically, it makes a lot of sense. But
Nothing I say is ever wrong at the time I said it, but it might be wrong later.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. So I'm just saying, like, there's things that I've looked at, things I've talked about, and later on in my life, I'll change my idea. I'll change my perspective of it because it just doesn't seem as logical now as it did then.
So,
And like there's more facts or ideas that I've learned now that make more sense now. Whereas in my past, it did then, but now it's like, well, this has to change because this doesn't make as much sense as it did back then.
so
You
let's
know,
is that, are we agreeing that that can be our topic 2 weeks from now?
yeah, I
Uh,
think that would be an interesting thing. I think the fact is like if people want to tune in for this, because I know this is sort of a sporadic thing. We just kind of popped in here, so there's a few people that jumped in here to see it. But if people want to see more of this, we have to discuss within ourselves, what we want to do as far as time frames. But it'll probably be later on at night. It'll probably be Thursday or Friday, depending
well,
upon what we can
th
do.
this was live, right? So, I mean, yeah, I guess it is. I don't have to say a certain other date. I guess it is right Friday night, and yeah, we'll just have to go from there. I don't. You're right, Thursday or Friday. I'm just reiterating.
Yeah, we'll figure out a time. Me and Brad will, work a time. Hopefully, we'll get his face to appear more than just a smiling dude.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty content with how I look right now.
So,
I look like a ventriloquist. I'm talking, but without moving my mouth. It's
I got my hand.
You look like you're at a nightclub. So,
I know, it looks pretty cool. So,
well, thanks for tuning in, and I mean, we got a few people pop in and out, but that's it's really all I expected anyway. We'll build the bar.
yeah, definitely. So, I think a couple weeks from now, we'll talk about ancient
Technology,
timelines. I think
ancient
we'll just highlight that ancient
ancient
timelines.
timelines. Yeah,
And we'll
that's
just go on from there, and we'll talk about everything we feel and think about things, and it'll sort of be like this, and so I guess we'll go from there. But
leave a comment. Leave some input, leave some output, leave something. Tell us how you feel. We'd love to
yeah,
hear your feelings.
yeah, leave some likes if you enjoyed it. This will be kind of a fun thing, me and my friend here. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff, and there's nothing sacred. We'll cover everything.
Yeah.
So we will destroy every kind of topic we can muster and think about, and just enjoy, just enjoy this. So I don't know what else to say, but this will probably be like a regular thing. We'll do every few weeks when we get the chance to. I know BC's, got his wife and his kid he's got to focus on, and so if that
Yeah,
happens, there's an interruption. I might pause his video feed so
we
that
might even get a third person in, when he finishes school. We'll have to see how that goes. He might want to be a part of it, might not. We don't know. But he's pretty busy right now with school, so
yeah. So we'll see about that. But whenever that happens, then I have a third person here distracting us and commenting on all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, that's all
if
there is. That's all there
also
is
if,
for.
if you really liked what you saw, you can also check out the Crow Show, which is already including that third person. It's a little bit more rambled than this one, and this one's
It's more
yeah
for games. It's more
that one
for.
has
It's more
also
for
guests.
entertainment. It's more for just bullshitting and just having fun with random stupid stuff. So
Yeah, that was just saying whatever was on your mind, speaking your mind completely. It's like every episode is about speaking your mind.
but
But
that was more for like a impulsive kind of thing, not a real, not like this. This is going to be more of a. We're going to try to be a little more well thought out
yeah,
with our responses and try to tell you what we really think, you know, as cohesively as possible. So I think there's a lot of things that we do research, a lot of things that we look at. We try to like personally for me, I try to be as accurate as possible with as many things as possible. Most of the time, you're going to watch me play a lot of strategic games, and I'm just doing the best I can to win all the time because strategy is something I really enjoy. So, as
I'm
far as
I'm more comedic. I like to have fun.
and I like your presence and I like you as a friend and you're a good friend of mine.
I don't
So
claim to be any what smart or intelligent. So, it's
I won't claim that either, but I'm just saying like,
for
you're
me, right? You won't claim that for me. I don't claim that you're smart either.
for you. But yeah, man. Yeah, Brad, you're a good friend of mine, But yeah, we'll get more into this and we'll talk about some more topics and it should be kind of fun next time too. So if you want to tune in, this will be a new thing, probably bi-weekly, and we'll either do it Thursday or Friday. I'll have it scheduled. So if you want to tune in for that, I will do that. You can go to my Discord channel, uh, join there if you want to see when we're going to be doing things. I'll post schedules there as well, for all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I think we should sign out. Any words of wisdom from
Well,
Brad?
I'm just adding that I'm going to also tag this on my YouTube, Infamous Brad Cook. So, it'll be in multiple places. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but
It could help. So that's good.
yeah, I'm still jittery after that coffee that was actually espresso. It was a lot of espresso.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay. All right. We're going to sign out, everybody. Have a good night and hope to see you next episode. And take care.
Did you just wave?